Chapter 183. As for why he didn't consider buying the rubber umbrella, firstly, the hotel definitely had it, and secondly, Chen Guang didn't think it would be useful. When university's campus belle had always been a man of her word. Since she had already said that, there would definitely be no more benefits. There was no need to feel regretful. As long as he thought about the fact that he had finally taken the first important step after 20 years of zero breakthroughs, there would be no more regrets. When Chen Guang noticed that an hourly room in the huge Craters Wellington Hotel cost more than 300 yuan, his fingers hesitated for a moment, but he still clicked hard. A worker must sharpen his tools to do a good job. If he wasn't ruthless to himself, how could he be worthy of Wen University's campus belle's generosity? After booking the room, he called Wen in a hurry before he even had dinner. "What's wrong? Is the exam over?" Wen sounded a little absent-minded. Chen Guang chuckled. "Of course. Where are you?" "I'm coming to find you. Come straight to the internet cafe, the same place. Hurry up. There are so many people today. There are at least 70 to 80 people trying to take your seat. Luckily, I used second uncle's ID to open a computer, or else you would have lost your seat long ago." No wonder Wenwen's voice sounded absent-minded. It turned out that this big sister had already gone to the internet cafe and was in the middle of a fierce battle. Chen Guang was puzzled. Since you used second uncle's ID to open a computer, why didn't he just sit there and surf the internet? Why did he ask someone to come over and ask you? Wen spat at him from a distance. "You really know how to think. Second uncle is already so old. I just used his ID, and he was so embarrassed that he almost broke a tree. He even let people into the internet cafe to sit." Chen Guang chuckled. He recalled second uncle's expert demeanor. It was a little out of place for such a person to sit in the internet cafe. After hanging up, he suddenly remembered that he had forgotten to tell her about the bet. He was so regretful that he stomped his feet. However, on second thought, she was there, and she wouldn't fly away. With Wenwen's personality, he wasn't afraid that she would go back on her word. There was no need to tell her over the phone. It would be better to tell her face to face at the internet cafe. The hourly room would only start at 2 p.m. and end at 5 p.m. There was no hurry. It didn't take long for him to find Wen. It couldn't be helped. Whenever she came alone, she would always be surrounded by a lot of enthusiastic people. Usually, these enthusiastic fans would point out Wenwen's equipment and maneuvers at the beginning. Even if they weren't Dota players, but League of Legends players, they were no exception. However, in the end, these people would shut their mouths one after another, not daring to speak out of turn due to Wenwen's gorgeous and precise manipulation. This was also the reason why she didn't like coming to the internet cafe alone. It was extremely annoying. "Excuse me, please excuse me." There were too many people standing in the aisle. Chen Guang couldn't smoothly move over. He could only politely ask the people squeezing in the aisle to make space for him. He didn't expect that the people surrounding him were all young and energetic lads. Everyone was busy watching their goddess maneuvers. It wasn't easy for them to occupy an advantageous position. How could they let a newcomer move away just like that? "Bro, don't you understand the principle of first come, first served? You should be aware that you're late. Just wait at the back. There'll be space for you when the people in front leave." A lad with long, palm-length hair turned around and glanced at Chen Guang with disdain. Chen Guang was overjoyed. It had been so many days since he beat up Dong Tao. He hadn't fought anyone for a long time. His peerless skills were probably rusting and degenerating. "Thank you for acting cool in front of me. This internet cafe is Wen and I'm blessed. If we go back and forth here a few more times, there'll be a continuous stream of lads coming to us to practice. If we persist for 8 to 10 years, we'll definitely achieve the peerless skills that tens of thousands of people admire. Let's go outside and talk about life." Chen Guang said excitedly. "Hey! You guys have nothing better to do. Why are you squeezing behind me? I already said that I'm waiting for someone. Now that my friend is here, you guys are blocking my way. Are you trying to fight with a lady like me? At this time, Wen finally ended the exciting game. She threw away her mouse and turned to look at Chen Guang with a straight face. Chen Guang was sad. Damn it. He was noticed by this T-Rex. His hard-earned practice opportunity was going to go to waste again. Yo, the girl's temper is pretty bad. I'm not going to let you go. So what? The long-haired youth didn't disappoint Chen Guang. He continued to speak with a raised eyebrow. While speaking, he also winked at the people around him. These people jumped up and down with him. It turned out that there was a group of people here. No wonder he had the guts to be so arrogant. Chen Guang laughed. I've seen a lot of people like you. Now, the grass on their graves is almost 2 meters tall. Your joke isn't funny. The long-haired youth kept a straight face. He felt that he was very cool. I think this joke is pretty good. What do you guys think? Wen, who was sitting in the booth, spoke again. This time, she had something in her hand. It was a can of Coke that she had just finished drinking. As she spoke, crunching sounds could be heard from the Coke can in her hand. Under everyone's eyes, the aluminum alloy Coke can was easily squashed flat by her fair hands and then twisted into a small metal ball with her fingers. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. The sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air came one after another. The group of young men behind Wen were all dumbfounded. When they looked at Chen Guang again, the expression in their eyes immediately changed. They said, "How can you be so arrogant and cool? They thought you had some amazing ability." After a long time, it turned out that this delicate beauty was the real Thai. Brother, your skill of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, we admire it. Run. In less than 10 seconds, the crowd behind Wen scattered like birds and beasts. Chen Guang sat down next to her. Before he could say anything, Wen urged, "Hurry up, I just finished a round and my hands are still warm." Originally, Chen Guang had wanted to directly bring up the matter of the bet, but seeing her like this, he didn't want to dampen her spirits, so he thought, "Fine, I'll play a few rounds with you first." Today was a little strange. That ID called Jiang Luhua hadn't appeared from start to finish. The two of them hadn't encountered any snipers, so they had won 2 rounds without a hitch. At this moment, Chen Guang wondered if he was sick. When that Jiang Luhua had been jumping around, he had hated him to the core, but now that he had disappeared, his heart felt empty. Unknowingly, it was already 4:00 in the afternoon. His stomach had started to growl with hunger, and the most important thing was that the hourly hotel reservation was about to expire. He was finally anxious. Taking advantage of this round, he finally plucked up the courage to say, "Wen, there's something I don't know if I should say." "Go ahead." What about our bet?" As Chen Guang said this, his gaze drifted down to Wen's chest. His meaning couldn't be more obvious. Wen shrank back. "What nonsense are you thinking about? F***CK. Is he clearly going to renege on his debt? Even if I agree, the heavens won't agree." Chen Guang was having none of it. "You can't renege on your debt, can you?" Wen hit his chest. "Who said I'm going to renege on my debt? Am I that kind of person who can't take responsibility? But you can't expect me to fulfill my promise right after the exam, can you? The results haven't come out yet, so no matter how confident you are, you can't say you've already passed." Chen Guang was dumbfounded. F***CK. Today is June 14th, and we'll have to wait until the results come out on August 20th. There are still 67 days left. All right, it's not like I'm going to fly away. Just wait here obediently. Even if you want to take advantage of me, you have to follow the basic rules, right? We have to follow the rules. Didn't we agree that you'll only be rewarded if you pass the exam? Wen said with a grin. Obviously, she had this idea from the start, but she had purposely waited until now to point it out to Qin Guang covered his face. D*mn, his heart was bleeding. The hourly room that cost more than 300 renminbi was booked for nothing. All right. Don't look so sad. Are you really 100% confident? Wen asked again when she saw how pitiful he was. Qin Guang nodded. 100%. How about this? Let's find a quiet corner later, and I'll let you get 20% of your reward in advance. How about that? Not through my clothes for a minute? Get lost. Just through my clothes. Take it or leave it. Chapter 184. The two of them squeezed into the internet cafe's toilet. The narrow space forced the two of them to be extremely close to each other. Thankfully, this internet cafe's toilet was relatively clean, and there was almost no odor. Looking at Wen, who had her eyes tightly closed and her coat tightly wrapped around her, Qin Guang's breathing was a little heavy. At such a close distance, even the slightest sound of breathing could be clearly heard by the other party. The thin coat couldn't cover Wen's peerless figure. Looking at her from such a close distance, her chest was so tall and straight. Qin Guang slowly raised his right hand and slowly moved towards one of the peaks. The closer he got, the slower his movements became. Bean-sized beads of sweat had already densely covered the tip of his nose, completely betraying his overly nervous mood at the moment. 5 minutes had passed since they squeezed into the toilet, but to Qin Guang, it seemed like a whole year had passed. You're not going to let the two of us stay here for a year, right? Can I still go home for Chinese New Year? Wen suddenly opened her eyes and stared at Qin Guang, who was right in front of her, as she said so. Qin Guang's hand that hadn't really touched her retracted as if it had been electrocuted. He panted heavily, "My sister. I'm about to succeed, don't suddenly scare me." Wen angrily stepped on his foot. "I don't know what you're afraid of, I didn't say no. You've already retracted your hand at least 8 times. Can you blame me for this?" Qin Guang put on a long face. "What do you know? Although I've more or less accidentally taken advantage of you in the past, this is the first time in my life that I've had the opportunity to take the initiative to feel it. Can you please understand my nervousness a little?" "Screw you. You make it sound like I have a lot of experience being touched by others. This is not the first time in my life. Stop dawdling. I'll give you one last chance. If you waste it again, you can go back to your dorm and pinch your pillow. Hurry up." As Wen spoke, she put her hands on Qin Guang's shoulders, straightened her chest, and closed her eyes again. Qin Guang took a deep breath. He decided that regardless of whether the sky would collapse in the future, at least at this moment, he must throw away that shameful loser's personality. No matter how unreachable this great goddess Wen was, no matter whether the person living in her body was a man or a woman, and no matter how much she might regret it later and beat him up. Right now, he had to be a brave and valiant man. Qin Guang charged. He raised his hand fiercely, closed his eyes, and pushed his palm forward like a shot put. The distance between his palm and the mountain continued to shrink. This 5 fingers peak of the devil's palm, with resolute courage, crossed time and space, broke through the barrier of fate, fiercely and without regret, and blasted on Maiden's Mountain. They collided. At this moment, Qin Guang finally understood why men's desire to pursue women was so deep-rooted since ancient times. Even if it was just a simple touch, as long as it was done deliberately, that touch, which was filled with the terrifying impact of the creation of heaven and earth and the birth of chaos, was like thousands of lightning bolts, starting from his heel, and fiercely shot up. A whirlpool-like numbness rushed up from the soles of his feet, passed through his whole body like lightning, and went straight to his head. So, this was the feeling of pinching this maiden's peak. It was really incredible. This is a historical moment. From now on, I, Qin Guang, will finally break free from the shackles, and become a brave man without hesitation. I've taken such a solid step, just like humans stepping on the moon for the first time. But it's strange, why in such an epic moment, I feel so good that my stomach hurts a little. When he opened his eyes, he saw Wenwen's fist on his stomach. Oh. Didn't you find out that my abdominal muscles could have such a strong ability to change shape? F***ck, I got beaten up, I knew it would be like this. Ouch. Dragging out a long tremble, Chen Guang clutched his stomach in pain and squatted down on the ground. Wenwen's face was full of apology, and hurriedly supported Chen Guang. I'm sorry, I really didn't mean it. I also don't know what happened. When you really touched it, I couldn't control my hand for a moment, and when I came back to my senses, it had already hit your stomach. Stop talking, quickly call 120, I can still be saved. Chen Guang roughly understood the meaning of dying under a peony flower, and becoming a ghost was also a romantic principle. Poor him, he only touched the peony flower from afar, and was poked all over his body. Today's encounter reminded him of the same painful punch from many years ago. It was still that familiar smell, the same location, the same injury. After experiencing the slaughter in the sea of time, he was clearly no longer the same as before, but lying on the bed, his stomach still felt waves of cramping pain. He remembered the doctor's sigh from before. Oh my, this is really bad. Did you get hit by a car? Luckily you're strong enough, otherwise you'd be lying in bed for a few days. Sigh, I really have to thank God for being able to live until today. Wenwen was currently sitting by the bed with an apologetic face, rubbing her hands in shame. Don't look at me with such a wronged face, I really didn't mean it. You have inner strength like second uncle, don't try to lie to me. Second uncle spilled the beans last time, I wanted to learn from him, but he refused to teach me. Chen Guang felt that this matter must be brought up, otherwise if this situation continues, when the results of the 4th level come out, if she really didn't want him to kiss her through her clothes, she would definitely punch his forehead, and then he would really die under a peony flower. Wenwen nodded helplessly, this is inner strength. Chen Guang immediately continued, Master. I want to learn. For the sake of brothers. Just teach me a little. Otherwise I'll be beaten to death by you sooner or later. Wenwen sighed, I'm willing to teach you, but my family matters can't be explained with just a few words. But my family's matters can't be explained in just a few words. If you want to learn. How? What's the condition? Wenwen's face was filled with helplessness. Then you have to marry me. Is this a hard and fast rule? Chen Guang asked. Wenwen nodded, yes. I can't go against it. Chen Guang spread his hands, I have no problem with it. Risk and benefit always coexist. Get lost. I have a problem with it. Wenwen rejected him decisively. Hearing those words, Chen Guang refused to accept it and continued, look, the two of us are destined to be single forever. Instead of mocking each other for being single forever, why don't we just clap our hands together and form a pair? I think this is a good idea. Wenwen glanced at him disdainfully, good my ass. I went to see a psychiatrist some time ago. Damn. What did the psychiatrist say? The psychiatrist said that I will definitely have a tendency of domestic violence in the future. After all, this lady is a little too manly sometimes. The weather is really good today, let's go for a walk. Didn't you say you want to marry me just now? Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, The so-called marrying Wenwen was just a joke between the two of them. Both of them were used to each other's mischief, but if they really wanted to turn each other into lovers, it would be exceptionally strange. Especially Chen Guang, although he never took the initiative to inquire about Wenwen's family background, he knew that the gap between them was really too big. But he was not anxious, because he had the heavenly Holy Grail. However, it was not a joke, that punch today was worth it. The feeling of that moment could be remembered for half a year. Anyway, he did not plan to wash his hands this month. Chapter 185. In the next few days, the two of them didn't have much time to play games. After passing the CT for exam, as a university student, the next thing they had to face was the final exam that the straight-A students were looking forward to and the straight-A students were terrified of. Chen Guang didn't go to the sports car anymore. He only went to the city hospital every 1 or 2 days and spent most of the rest of his time cramming for the final exam. As a senior straight-A student, he had a lot of experience in last-minute training. In less than a week, relying on his skillful experience, he passed 3 tests in a row and solved the exams of 3 compulsory courses. Thank God, he would have more than a week of rest, and the next exam would be on June 27th. Although he had the fate of a protagonist with a magical artifact, he still had to be hung up and punished by his father if he failed. Old Master Chen Guang was also panicking in his heart. These days, he didn't even have the mood to ambush the heavenly Holy Grail's world in the cup. Anyway, there was still no movement from the heavenly Holy Grail, so he couldn't defend against it. If it weren't for Lioli's fairy-like face that would still occasionally appear in his dreams at night, Chen Guang would almost think that his heavenly Holy Grail was really an ordinary cup. Today, he woke up abnormally early because he couldn't contain his excitement. After waiting for a long time, the 2 celebrities on his left and right hand were finally coming back from abroad. Their plane would arrive at Wujing Airport at about noon. In order to come to Wujing City, the 2 of them seemed to have really given themselves a long vacation. The 2 women, who lived under the spotlight all year round, played a big trick on the outside media. They made people think that they were still in the United States, but they had quietly boarded the plane back to China. The only people who knew that the 2 women were returning to China at this time were probably the passengers and flight attendants in the first-class cabin. There was no time for others to find a way to inform the reporters or paparazzi. The 2 of them made up their minds to look for Chen Guang as soon as they got off the plane, so they didn't arrange for a private car to pick them up. They knew that Chen Guang was online, so they directly asked Chen Guang to pick them up at the airport. Usually, when a certain celebrity left the airport on TV, he would be surrounded by all kinds of cameras and paparazzi, as if he had accidentally revealed his whereabouts. He would have to call for a large number of bodyguards to protect him before he could successfully walk out of the airport. In fact, those who knew the ropes all knew that this so-called leaking of their whereabouts was completely intentional. Usually, the purpose of doing this was to cover up the whereabouts of celebrities. A trip like this needed to be done with great fanfare, to promote a new film, a new song, or something else. Even if you were a celebrity like Wazai, it wouldn't be difficult for you to sneak out and land without anyone noticing. As a top-notch taxi driver, Chen Guang took a refreshing cold shower early in the morning. Then, he deliberately changed into a summer outfit that he thought was the best. It was a Hawaiian-style floral shirt and loose and handsome Hawaiian pants. He grabbed the styling gel that Lin Jingwei had been spraying on his head recently and sprayed it all over his head as if it was free. Then, he combed his hair into a handsome windmill hairstyle. Master Guang decided to use his best condition to welcome the Patek Philippe, oh no, the 2 friends who could save his mother's life. Just as he was about to go out, Bai Nyangzi walked out of the dormitory in slippers with narrowed eyes. He saw Chen Guang in the living room looking at the mirror and showing off his good looks as usual before going out. He complained, "Brother Guang, are you going on a blind date?" Chen Guang rolled his eyes at him in disdain. "What do you know? I'm going to earn big money. Are you really a gigolo?" TSK, with this hairstyle, Lin Jingwei's gel has almost been sprayed dry by you. There was still a third of it left when I secretly used it yesterday. As Bai Nyangzi complained on behalf of Lin Jingwei, he maliciously attacked Chen Guang's head with lightning speed, intending to destroy the hairstyle that he had painstakingly managed to do. Then, the naive young man, Bai Nyangzi, let out a blood-curdling scream, while Chen Guang flashed an expression that said, "You deserve it," and swaggered off. Bai Nyangzi looked at his heavily injured right hand, wanting to cry but having no tears. Damn it! How hard did this grandson's hair get? It's bleeding from all the poking. There must be a hedgehog on his head. After throwing the bag into the car and placing the heavenly Holy Grail on the cup holder, Chen Guang whistled and went out the door. In the bag in the front passenger seat, there was a knitted scarf that he only used in winter and a pair of sunglasses that he had originally planned to buy to show off, but he had only worn it once. Don't ask him why he brought these things. Today, he was going to pick up his left and right hand. If he wasn't prepared and someone took a picture of them and posted it on the internet, he would have to be prepared to say goodbye to his peaceful and comfortable life. Things like international flights were always unpredictable. Most of the time, it would arrive late to the point where it made people want to die. But occasionally, it would arrive an hour early, making people waiting at the airport to be picked up cry silently. For ordinary people, arriving early might be a good thing, but considering the special circumstances of his left and right hand, it would most likely turn into a terrible disaster if they were to stay at the airport for an hour. That was why Chen Guang left so early today. Halfway through the car, he hesitated for a long time and decided to do something. For his left and right hand, giving a Patek Philippe watch might be a simple way to express their gratitude. But for Chen Guang, the significance of this watch was too great. Regardless of whether the other person cared or not, Chen Guang felt that he should express enough gratitude for the other person's kindness. Therefore, he parked the car at a roadside flower shop, spared no effort to buy a large bouquet of white bell-shaped flowers, and put it in the trunk. The flower language of the white bell-shaped flowers was gratitude and gratitude. Although he didn't like Jiang Yage, Chen Guang felt that although friendship was beautiful, it also had to be worldly. If someone was nice to you, you couldn't be so thick-skinned and ungrateful and accept it. People should know how to be grateful. He didn't have much money, so he couldn't give anything valuable, but it wasn't too much to give a bunch of flowers with no extra meaning to express his gratitude. Such a simple gift wouldn't cause any misunderstanding, so why not? It took about half an hour to wrap the bouquet, and it was already 10:30 in the morning when he arrived at the airport. Chen Guang parked the car in the parking lot, walked briskly to the exit of the international flight, and began the long wait. He was so bored that he bought an entertainment newspaper, which was rare. He returned to the parking lot, leaned against his car door, and started reading. The headline of the newspaper was about Big Beard Deng's new movie that was about to finish filming. As a non-professional, best actor, Chen Guang slapped his forehead. Before he saw the newspaper, he didn't even know the name of the movie. He didn't even know the theme and plot of the movie from beginning to end. I'm really sorry for the 180,000 yuan that Big Beard Deng and Zhou Ye gave me. Should I write an article on Dubon later to brag about this movie? Tears Last Days, Chen Guang smiled. Looking at the title of the movie, Big Beard Deng seemed to have a big plan. Sure enough, this was a war epic about a fictional historical environment, depicting two women who played different roles in the chaos of war. One was a valiant heroine, and the other was the only daughter of a loyal minister who lost his country. The whole movie revolved around the two women, one martial and one literary, drawing a picture of turbulent mountains and rivers. It told the story of the ups and downs of a dynasty, the suffering of the people, and also indirectly promoted anti-war ideas. Chen Guang thought of the deputy general he played and laughed. The two characters were so deep, but he was just a brainless, short-tempered, murderous boor. He couldn't help but look forward to it. What would it be like when his classmates or other acquaintances saw his handsome face in the movie theater? Chapter 186. Usually, he didn't read entertainment gossip, but today, he had to receive two celebrities. It was urgent to improve his business skills. As he flipped through the pages, he unknowingly became interested. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, it was almost 12 o'clock. Chen Guang came back to his senses. Oh my God, I've been standing beside the car like a fool for an hour. I don't even feel tired. Either my stamina is too good, or I comprehended Wenwen's inner force when I punched her that day. That's right. That must be it. Just then, the roar of an engine came from the parking lot. It sounded like a sports car. Chen Guang turned his head and saw a Bentley Continental pass the parking lot gate. It started to step on the accelerator and rushed straight towards him. There was an empty spot next to Chen Guang's car. After a short pause, the Bentley stared at the spot and swerved to the back of Chen Guang's car. Then, it rushed to the back of Chen Guang's car and swooped into the garage. The whole process was smooth, without any pause, and it was very cool. Chen Guang raised his eyebrows in disdain. What's the point of being arrogant about a mere continental? The person standing in front of you is the god of racing. I just drove a Porsche 918 a few days ago. I'll buy a few of your cars for one. My driving skills are way better than yours. Although the person beside me is just a poor little Rena, it doesn't stop me from not being able to stand your shameless pretentious behavior. Then, the Bentley's driver's door opened, and a figure that could barely be considered familiar came out. Chen Guang curled his lips. It was an old acquaintance. It's been a long time. The person who came out of the car was Zheng He. He seemed to be alone. After getting out of the car, he took out his keys to lock the car and turned to leave. Then, he glanced at Chen Guang out of the corner of his eye. Just as he turned his head, he immediately turned back with a faint smile on his face. Seeing this face, Chen Guang had a thought in his mind. This grandson is looking for a beating. Actually, when Zheng He saw Chen Guang, he had very complicated feelings. Previously, he only thought of Chen Guang as a stinky loser that could be stepped on. He didn't take him seriously at all. He didn't expect that when he brought people to teach him a lesson twice, he would be easily dealt with. The second time, Kim Jongpan, he finally managed to invite an expert, but he didn't even last for one round. He was knocked to the ground by Chen Guang backhand. He was so embarrassed that he pissed his pants. At that time, Zheng He was very unwilling to accept it. He even planned to use some really deadly means. But later, he changed his mind because Wen asked second uncle to put some pressure on Zheng He's father, so he had to restrain himself for the time being. As the saying goes, enemies are bound to meet here. Initially, Zheng He intended to turn a blind eye to Chen Guang and leave. But in the blink of an eye, he felt that Chen Guang was just a little more skilled in fighting, and it would be too shameful for him to run away upon encountering Chen Guang. It was as if he was really afraid of Chen Guang. In addition, he ran into Chen Guang and Wen in the library later. At that time, Zheng He was so jealous that he almost burned. It took him a lot of effort to control his emotions. There were so many seats in the parking lot today. It was a coincidence that he came here at that time. Even God wanted him to embarrass him. You can't hit me just because I teased you, right? TSK, look at your broken car. What the hell is this? Yo, Chen Guang, what a coincidence. Yo, your car is not bad. Zheng He held the car key in his hand and walked in the direction of Chen Guang. F***ck, relying on your father's ability to buy you a broken Bentley, isn't it? Although this brother's car isn't worth much, it has followed me everywhere. We have a deep relationship, okay? You humiliated my life partner in front of me. This brother is very angry. The Bentley your father bought for you is also not bad. Chen Guang said in a low muffled voice. You, the dignified young Master Zheng, actually remember my name. Aren't you afraid of lowering your status? Zheng He slightly adjusted the collar of his white shirt, then lowered his head to fiddle with a few specks of dust on his leather shoes. He then glanced at Chen Guang. Of course I have to remember your name, but it has nothing to do with you. It's only because you are Wenwen's friend. If I were you, I wouldn't shamelessly pester Wenwen. Let me repeat what I told you in the beginning. There is an insurmountable barrier between you and Wenwen. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. He thought to himself, you are the one shamelessly pestering Wenwen, not me. I am the one being pestered by Wenwen. Well, you continue to provoke me. Just one more sentence and I can almost beat you up. Come, don't be a coward. Master Guang's threat was so straightforward. If he said he wanted to beat you up, he didn't want to talk to you at all. Chen Guang's gloomy tone reminded Zheng He of the day when he was first slapped by Chen Guang, then grabbed by his collar and directly threatened his life. He couldn't help but feel a little creeped out. Zheng He's mouth twitched. He really didn't expect to run into Chen Guang here. Today, he came alone without a bodyguard by his side. Now, he really didn't feel the slightest sense of security. Of course, based on what happened to Kim Jongpan that day, an ordinary bodyguard might not be enough. However, he was unwilling to let him leave with his tail between his legs. He could only force a smile. We are all classmates in the same school. Your attitude is too bad. I was just joking with you. Don't mind me. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand such a high-end joke. We are not the same kind of people. Don't make such jokes that will easily cause me to misunderstand. It's better for the two of us to maintain a distance. This is good for everyone. Don't you think so? Chen Guang moved in front of Zheng He and looked at him indifferently. Chen Guang wasn't joking with Zheng He. He had experienced the instantaneous ocean and was no longer the same as before. Otherwise, he might have really been crippled by Kim Jongpan back then. The reason why Chen Guang's attitude towards Zheng He was so vile and domineering was because he knew that as long as this person still had thoughts about Wen, there was no way he could feign civility with him. Rather than that, he might as well give him a sufficient sense of threat so that he wouldn't dare to act rashly. Chen Guang didn't know that if it wasn't for Wen's pressure, Zheng He wouldn't be so calm after being threatened by him. He really thought that it was his murderous aura that scared Zheng He. After saying that, Chen Guang didn't want to bother with him anymore. He folded the gossip newspaper in his hand and turned to walk towards the exit. Calculating the time, Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue's plane was about to land. He didn't expect that Zheng He and the others would also come out from the international flight exit. The two of them finally met here. However, with the previous lesson, Zheng He didn't run to Chen Guang's side to invite a snub. Instead, he stood at the other side with a calm face. No one knew what he was thinking. Chapter 187. Zheng He knew that Chen Guang usually ran online to earn money. Although he had never used it, he seemed to have heard that some people would increase the price of an online booking in advance when they came back from abroad so that they could get off the plane and leave as soon as possible. Therefore, Zheng He speculated that Chen Guang had accepted the booking and came over to earn extra money. Thinking about the person he was going to pick up today, Zheng He rolled his eyes and had an idea. Chen Guang held the newspaper behind his back with one hand and held his phone with the other. He stretched his neck to look inside. The notice board had already shown that Jin Jiang and Jin Yu's plane had arrived. It was estimated that they would be coming out soon. On the other side, Zheng He was hiding in a corner and talking to someone on the phone. This grandson had actually contacted the person he was going to pick up first. Chen Guang was a little unhappy. The old man had lost in such a small matter. According to the text message sent by Jiang Yage during the transfer, Chen Guang knew that the two of them were wearing light blue jackets and large-framed sunglasses that covered most of their faces. Jiang Yage was wearing a pink sun hat, while Jin Shiyue was wearing a sky blue sun hat. With such distinctive characteristics, Chen Guang felt that he should be able to easily recognize the two of them. As for why he didn't hold up a sign? What a joke. With my domineering handsomeness, I don't need to hold up a sign. Even if I hid in a crowd, would definitely be recognized at a glance. Just as he was staring with his eyes wide open, a graceful figure suddenly jumped out from in front of him and bumped into him. There was an assassin. Chen Guang reacted quickly and retreated. Humph. You want to assassinate me? Practice for another 10 years. Just as he was feeling proud, the figure in front of him shook her hand. Then, a large glass of orange juice flew out of her hand like a hidden weapon and hit Chen Guang's clothes. The fresh and hot orange juice splashed and enchanted his Hawaiian suit with a layer of bright orange. This damned assassin had a long-range weapon, and the old man fell for it. Chen Guang was infuriated. There were at least 100 people at the exit. Why don't you just scatter it all over my body? My Hawaiian suit is very expensive. I didn't hesitate to spend a lot of money to buy this when I was still a second-generation rich kid in the urban-rural fringe. It added up to more than 1,000. Sorry. I was too careless. I'm sorry. Seeing that she was in trouble, the graceful figure first used her hand to lift her sunglasses, then stretched out a pair of slender hands to touch Chen Guang's body, as if she was going to wipe the orange juice off his body. Chen Guang pushed her hand away impatiently. Miss, please be more dignified. I'm not familiar with you. However, the woman did not let it go. As she spoke, she reached out to pull on Guang's clothes. Her words were even more apologetic. I'm really sorry for dirtying your clothes, sir. Are you waiting for someone? Why don't you come with me to the city, and I'll buy you a new suit? As the woman spoke, she moved her face closer and closer. Then, without changing her expression, she quickly took off her sunglasses, revealing an apologetic face, and quickly put them back on. Guang's heart skipped a beat. Oh, what's going on today? I haven't even caught up with the big shots in my left and right hands, and I've already bumped into a fish that slipped through the net. The woman's movements were very fast, but Guang still recognized her from a glance. She was actually a rising popular movie star. The TV series she starred in had just become popular all over the country. It would not be an exaggeration to say that she was the most popular person in the past 2 months. Guang knew this person because of the entertainment newspaper just now. The headline of the newspaper was Big Beard Deng's The Tears of a Country Run Dry, and the headline of the subpage was This Woman's Scandals. The writing was quite deep and meaningful. Guang purely read it as a YY novel. He didn't expect to actually bump into the main character here. This feeling was very fresh. It was a little strange. Didn't the gossip say that she had a bad temper and liked to act like a big shot? If that's the case, it's nothing more than wet my clothes. Is there a need to be so shameless and put on such an apologetic look in front of me? I always feel that something is wrong. To borrow a famous saying from Big Beard Deng on the set, your acting is a bit too much. In the distance, Zheng He put his hands behind his back with a smile on his face as if everything was under control. Looking at this scene, he sneered in his heart. Guang, you definitely can't imagine this. This is a big gift I prepared for you. You, just accept it. That's right, Zheng He was originally going to pick up this woman. After deciding to mess with Guang, Zheng He changed his mind. There were stars that could be slept with at any time, but the opportunity to make Guang leave Wenwen's side was quite rare. Let this woman use the identity of a dignified star to seduce a little loser like Guang, it was almost in the bag. This woman was also worthy of being a popular movie star. The charm in her movements was natural, and the apologetic and pitiful look in her eyes after doing something wrong. Zheng He, who was secretly observing, could only give a thumbs up. Perfect acting. As long as Guang fell into the trap and brought this woman back to the city, the two of them would have sex again and ask her to quietly leave some evidence. Even if she had to erase her own face, as long as he sent photos and videos of Guang and another woman to Wenwen, he didn't believe that the great goddess Wen would forgive him, this cheating man. Zheng He's plan was very good. Guang almost fell for it. If he hadn't read the newspaper and had suspicions, and if he hadn't been obsessed with Jiang Yage and Zhuo Jingxi's Patek Philippe, he wouldn't have believed that the great goddess Wen would forgive him, this cheating man. At this time, the two of them were entangled and almost hugging each other. Guang was also kind. Although he was a little annoyed with her, in the end, he still held back and didn't fly into a rage. He thought, you are a big shot after all. If I really make a fuss and let passers-by see the show, it won't be good for you. Moreover, this woman was indeed quite good. In addition, she wasn't wearing thick clothes. Her curvaceous body was rubbing against Guang's body under the pretense of helping him wipe his clothes. Guang had already retreated to the corner of the wall. There was no way out. His heart was very complicated. He was annoyed and happy at the same time. He almost couldn't help but shout for help. Damn it. I just saw the gossip about you. I know that you are a powerful social butterfly in the world, but your skills are a little too profound. You just randomly grab someone and use your skills. To be honest, I, the old man, can't control your plump body like this. Sir, I'm really sorry. If the person you are waiting for is not particularly important, why don't we go downtown now? I have already booked a room in the hotel. When we get there, I will personally help you change your clothes, okay? The woman put her mouth close to Chen Guang's ear and gently breathed out her warm breath to tease him. Please move aside. The person I am waiting for is very important, more important than you. At this critical moment, Chen Guang's reason finally won the upper hand. The social butterfly looked delicious, but Patek Philippe was still more tempting. Besides, although my car is broken and lousy, I have to drive the left and right hands of the national idol. You. Not good enough. What? The woman was shocked. She didn't expect that she couldn't even handle such a little boy after using all her skills. Her eyes subconsciously drifted to Zheng He's side. Seeing this, Zheng He knew that he was in trouble. Chen Guang was very sharp. He saw the key point in an instant. Just now, he saw that Zheng He was talking to someone on the phone, but he didn't see the person he was waiting for. Moreover, when the woman came out, she was walking steadily. But when she came in front of him, she inexplicably tripped her right foot with her left foot. The large glass of orange juice flew out of her hand like a precision-guided missile. That shameful performance at the end was too dramatic. So you were sent by Zheng He to make fun of me from the very beginning. Poor Chen Guang, he still didn't know that Zheng He's teasing was really to give him a beautiful encounter. Otherwise, he might be quite regretful. Chapter 188. Are you done with your act? If you're done, get out of the way. Otherwise, I'll shout your name out loud. There are so many people here. You'll be in for a treat. A celebrity? I don't think you're any better than a prostitute. You flew all the way to Wujing to deliver a package to Zheng He, didn't you? Since they're Zheng He's people, then they're enemies. Hence, Chen Guang wasn't polite with his words. The female celebrity looked a little embarrassed, but she quickly composed herself and walked toward Zheng He. Zheng He sighed. He knew he was exposed. He glared at the female celebrity when she walked over but did not say anything. Holding onto a damp newspaper, Chen Guang walked in the direction of the two of them. Zheng He thought he was going to hit him, so he took a step back. Chen Guang, don't do anything stupid. In front of so many people. Chen Guang waved his hand impatiently. Fine, fine. I know you're a coward. You don't have to say it again. As he said that, Chen Guang flipped to the page with the female celebrity gossip. He chuckled and said, Young Master Zheng, you have a good appetite. Let me help you count how many people there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. TSK, I'm impressed. Chen Guang was furious when he thought about how this bastard looked down on him and how he had sent such a piece of trash to seduce him. He almost fell for it. If he did not come over to disgust this bastard, he would feel suffocated. Zheng He blushed. The female celebrity was also a little embarrassed. Although the gossip in the newspaper was mostly false, she was not clean herself. If it had been someone else, she would have been furious if she had been slapped in the face with this kind of gossip. Unfortunately, when this person came over just now, even Zheng He, the son of the chairman of New Radiance Entertainment, showed his fear. How could the female star dare to treat Chen Guang as a loser anymore? She only thought that this person was Zheng He's sworn enemy. When she thought about how she was actually involved in the fight between the two young masters, she was so nervous that cold air came out from the soles of her feet. Zheng He was embarrassed and felt that he had lost face again. He gritted his teeth and thought, damn it, I don't believe that this brat would dare to attack me in public. I promised my father that I wouldn't take the initiative to provoke him, but I didn't say that I can't resist him if he wants to ride on my head, right? Chen Guang. Don't be so harsh with your words. There wasn't a single woman in the entertainment industry who was completely clean. You're saying the grapes are sour when you can't eat them. Zheng He said through gritted teeth. It was undeniable that what he said made sense. The so-called dirty and clean were all relative. To a man, being able to obtain a woman with a certain level of fame was something that gave him a sense of achievement. It didn't matter what other past she had. Chen Guang wanted to be stubborn and say that he wouldn't be interested in a woman like her even if she sent herself to his bed. But he actually looked like he was enjoying himself just now. He couldn't bring himself to say that. Yo, Zheng family's young master, why do your words sound so harsh? Why don't you repeat it for me? At this moment, a sweet voice came from behind Chen Guang. It turned out that Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue had come out. They were standing behind Chen Guang with their arms crossed. They were indeed in the attire that they had described to Chen Guang. They were two guards in blue, one on the left and the other on the right. Zheng He was stunned at first and was about to fly into a rage. He looked up at the woman wearing a pink sun hat behind Chen Guang and felt that she was vaguely familiar. Stop staring. I'm Jiang Yage. I'm also a woman in the entertainment industry. Did you just say that I'm not clean? Jiang Yage said fiercely. Zheng He's eyes opened wider and wider. He felt that he had really barged into an evil spirit today. What the F***ck was going on? He was just disgusting Chen Guang. How did Jiang Yage hear it? Huaxia was vast and boundless with a sea of people. How did she hear it? Did she have 8 lifetimes of bad luck? What kind of coincidence was this? As Zheng Yunhao's son, under Zheng Yunhao's guidance, he was fortunate enough to be in the circle of Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. That was why Jiang Yage recognized him. Zheng He also knew the real background of Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. Perhaps it wouldn't matter if most of the other female stars in the entertainment industry heard what he said, but it just had to be these two. This was troublesome. He couldn't care less about losing face in front of Chen Guang. Zheng He lowered his head slightly. I'm sorry. I was just angry in a moment and wanted to say something to let that poor brat Chen Guang know the gap between me and him. I didn't expect the two of you to hear it. It really wasn't my intention. I was just saying it out of anger. It can't be taken seriously. Chen Guang didn't expect that Jiang Yage and Zheng He actually knew each other. Moreover, it seemed that Jiang Yage was a little more assertive. As a gossipy citizen in the past, he had also participated in guessing the real background of his left and right hands. It was only today that he had really glimpsed the tip of the iceberg. The waters of this world are so deep. Fortunately, I'm a good swimmer and won't drown. Dear Guang, he said that you're a poor brat. What should we do? Right at this moment, Jiang Yage suddenly said this behind Chen Guang. Then, she gently held onto Chen Guang's arm. F***ck. The same word suddenly rang in the hearts of both Zheng He and Chen Guang. However, this feeling was completely different. In just a moment, this simple action of Jiang Yage had turned Chen Guang from a chicken into a phoenix in an instant. He was about to ascend to the heavens. Zheng He was trembling all over. He was all too clear about Chen Guang's real background. He was definitely not the son of some big shot. But what was going on with this guy? It was one thing for Wen to favor him. But what was up with Jiang Yage today? She definitely wouldn't lower herself to hold Chen Guang's arm just to embarrass him. It was just a harmless tease, and he had immediately apologized to her face. Her behavior could only mean that these two were really familiar with each other. Moreover, their relationship wasn't ordinary. Chen Guang also started to panic. Big sis, our relationship hasn't reached this stage. I can't take it when you act like you're familiar with us. I've just found out that your background isn't ordinary, but you suddenly did this. God knows if there are 70 to 80,000 of your family's bodyguards pointing their sniper rifles at my head. Tomorrow, I'll vanish from the face of the earth. Moreover, what if this grandson, Zheng He, ran to Wen and gossiped about me? Huh? What am I afraid of? I'm just good brothers with Wen. In short, there were so many people here. I mustn't let the onlookers who were gradually paying attention to this side see through Jin Zhang's identity. I haven't put on my sunglasses and scarf. What if someone takes a picture and posts it on the internet? That's right. Brother Chen Guang, Shiyue, is also very angry. At this moment, Jin Shiyue, who had been standing quietly behind Chen Guang, also did something that exceeded everyone's expectations. Even Jiang Yage was shocked. Jin Shiyue actually held onto Chen Guang's arm. Being attacked from both sides, Chen Guang's brain crashed. Who can save me? What should I do now? Someone is going to take a picture. My life is going to be ruined. Zheng He was completely speechless. Although Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue were both wearing sunglasses and makeup, making it hard for passers-by to recognize them, their action of fighting for a husband was really too scary. Zheng He felt that his worldview was about to collapse. Chapter 189. Zheng He felt that he could not stay any longer. Compared to the two women who were holding onto Chen Guang's left and right hands, the little movie star that he was so proud of earlier had become a tragedy. He was clearly the future successor of New Radiance, but he was wearing a pair of worn-out shoes that had been worn out. On the other hand, Chen Guang was wearing two pairs of crystal and diamond shoes that everyone could only dream of. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving first. I'll come back another day to apologize. Zheng He's face was flushed red as he bowed deeply at Jiang Yage before turning to leave. The starlet, who was already pale with fright, bowed deeply at Chen Guang. I'm sorry, Mr. Chen, I really, scram. Jiang Yage did not let her finish her sentence. What a joke. My big brother Chen Guang is someone that a fickle woman like you can cozy up to. The starlet shuddered and quickly turned to chase after Zheng He. It was obvious that Zheng He did not want to see her anymore. When she caught up to Zheng He from afar, she was pushed to the ground with a slap. However, she still struggled to get up and continued to follow behind Zheng He. Chen Guang sighed softly in his heart. Actually, this kind of woman was very pitiful. She did not do anything wrong. It was only because Zheng He had lost face because of her that she was treated coldly. Yet, she still had to follow him like a dog, wagging her tail and begging for pity because she could not afford to offend Zheng He. People would only become humble and submissive when they had something to ask for. Only someone like me, who has no desires, can live a free and easy life in this world of materialistic desires, right? Big brother Chen Guang, I have the watch with me. But if you want it, I have a condition. Jiang Yage moved her mouth close to his ear again and whispered softly. Damn it, I failed to act cool. I'm kneeling. Don't dawdle here. Someone is already suspecting your identities. Let's go. Chen Guang calmly pulled his hands out of the arms of the two women and took the lead to walk forward. Although the beauty was good, he did not dare to enjoy it. The two of them were too famous, and deep in Chen Guang's heart, he really didn't want to have that kind of weird relationship with them. On the internet, there were too many vivid examples of ordinary people mixing with celebrities, and their lives were completely exposed to the spotlight. Chen Guang really didn't want that to happen. Being the underwear Superman for the two of them had already made him extremely distressed. If he were to become the celebrity's boyfriend again, he would really be poor. He also didn't know how much pressure he would have to face from their families. He couldn't bear it. Why were there two of them? Chen Guang slapped his forehead. Just now, he held Jiang Yage's hand. Although he was caught unprepared, with this woman's usual temperament, it seemed to be reasonable. Jin Shiyue's action made him a bit confused. Jiang Yage also couldn't understand. The two women followed behind Chen Guang. She whispered to Jin Shiyue and asked, Big sister Shiyue, why were you holding his hand just now? Women were like this. No matter how good their relationship was, there were some things that they weren't willing to share with others. Jin Shiyue knew what Jiang Yage was concerned about, but only faintly smiled. Didn't you want to help him scare that new Lightstring family's young master? Just you alone isn't enough. Didn't you see how scared that Jing fellow was when I also held his hand? He must be doubting his life when he goes back, right? Jiang Yage immediately let go of her wariness. She convulsed with laughter and heavily patted Jin Shiyue's shoulder. That's right, that's right. Look at his expression just now. It's as if he saw the end of the world. Ha 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 ha. Chen Guang, who was walking in front, eavesdropped on the two's whispering, but didn't say anything. He had a feeling that Jin Shiyue's actions weren't that simple. After all, the strength she used to hold his hand wasn't lighter than Jiang Yage's. Perhaps, she used even more strength? When the three of them arrived at the car park, Zheng He had already driven away in his broken Bentley. At this moment, Chen Guang was feeling smug. You might be driving a Bentley, but your car is filled with worn-out shoes. On the other hand, I might be driving a tattered Rena, but my car is more refined than yours. At first, Jiang Yage wanted to sit in the front passenger seat, but Chen Guang wouldn't agree no matter what. The glass sticker next to the front passenger seat wasn't very bright. He was afraid that people would recognize Jiang Yage from the outside, so he chased the two of them to the back seat. Should I send you to the hotel directly to rest? Bringing out his professionalism as a driver, Chen Guang asked out of concern since the two of them had just returned from a long journey, so they definitely needed a good rest. Unexpectedly, both Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue shook their heads. Jiang Yage blinked playfully and said, "We almost turned into cocoons on the plane. Why would we go to the hotel? Didn't I say it just now? The watch will definitely be given to brother Chen Guang, but there are conditions." Jin Shiyue poked Jiang Yage's waist, asking her to restrain herself. Jiang Yage didn't agree. "Sister Shiyue, don't poke me. We have agreed before that I will be fully responsible for the watch." Jin Shiyue sighed and didn't say anything more. Chen Guang slapped himself in the face. Damn, the old man is walking further and further away from the path of having no desires. You can't expect me to repay you with my body just for this watch, right? To be honest, I will make a lot of money that way. Resigned to his fate, Chen Guang turned around and put one hand on the back of the driver's seat. "Say it, what do you want? Now that things have come to this, I won't die to save face and suffer. I admit that I am a greedy person. I really like this watch." Jiang Yage saw that he was so serious and was slightly surprised. She looked at him with a burning gaze. "Do you have any difficulties?" Chen Guang shook his head. "Nothing, it's nothing." He knew that Jiang Yage might want to give him more benefits, but he really wasn't such a shameless person. The so-called life-saving grace was nothing to him. Shamelessly taking a watch worth hundreds of thousands had already touched the bottom line of a man's dignity deep in his heart. What's more, he wasn't talking nonsense. This was indeed enough. In addition, how could he let these two people know that he took the watch to sell for money? He still had to put on a good show. Jiang Yage knew that he wanted to save face. Seeing that he didn't want to say more, she didn't continue to pester him on this matter. Although she was stupid from time to time, she wasn't really stupid. She was willing to take care of Chen Guang's pride. "All right then. Come and take it." After Jiang Yage said that, she took out a watch from her handbag, pulled open her collar, and threw it inside. Then she puffed out her chest and looked at Chen Guang expectantly. Hearing those words, Chen Guang's face turned dark as he inwardly cursed. "If it wasn't for the fact that you're willing to sacrifice yourself to push Jin Shiyue into my embrace, I wouldn't have a good first impression of you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to be friends with you for the rest of my life. You better be more like it." In the end, he couldn't hold it in. This was too much of a bully. Chapter 190. Seeing that Chen Guang was angry, Jin Shiyue poked Jiang Yage with all her might. Jiang Yage blushed. I accidentally got carried away again. How would they know that Chen Guang's angry look was just a facade? In fact, he was also in a dilemma. Should he take the watch or not? He was not sure if Jiang Yage was serious or just teasing him. After all, this woman had too many bad records. He asked himself. From this angle, Jiang Ye's plump breasts were indeed very attractive. Chen Guang had seen Jiang Ye's dance performance on TV more than once. Although Jiang Ye's left and right hand were not famous for their dance music, that was only because the two women's talents were too comprehensive. She had been dancing for a long time, so her figure was far more fit and beautiful than the average person. Her natural perky breasts were even more attractive under her deliberate perky breasts. It was not hard to imagine that the elasticity must be excellent. If I really take it, can I really put my hand into her neckline? But is it possible that she is testing me on purpose? If I really put my hand in, will she and Jean Shirua look down on me? Damn. It's very possible. You are so vicious, digging such a big hole for me out of nowhere. Humph. How can a gentleman like me give in so easily? Chen Guang continued to keep a straight face and activated his sage mode. Jiang Ye looked at Chen Guang timidly. She was a little scared. But no one knew what was going on in her mind. She suddenly plucked up her courage and clenched her teeth. Fight! She, who was sitting in the back row, suddenly stretched out her hand and grabbed Chen Guang's hand that was hanging in midair. Then, she stretched it towards her chest. Damn! I'm going to explode. Chen Guang roared in his heart. Take it. Oh my God, I suddenly feel weak. There must be something wrong. Well, it's my moral integrity that is broken. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Ye pulled Chen Guang's hand to her chest. She was also flustered and didn't aim at the right angle, causing her to bump into Chen Guang. The claw deviated by 3 inches and hit one of the peaks, almost flattening it. For a brief moment, Chen Guang was at a loss as to what to do. Jean Shirua was also shocked by Jiang Ye's sudden action. She looked at Chen Guang and thought that he was going to get angry, so she quickly pulled Jiang Ye's hand. Jiang Ye's mind instantly sobered up. When she looked at Chen Guang's bulging eyes, she was also scared. When she thought of her behavior just now, she felt that she was crazy. She quickly let go of Chen Guang's hand and squeezed out an apologetic expression. She pouted and took out the watch from her chest and handed it to him. Here. I'm sorry. It's rare to see you. I was too happy. I was just joking with you. Really, thank you for saving my life. I hope you don't mind. This is Sister Shirua's and my kind intentions. It's a rare limited edition Patek Philippe. It's not the kind that can be bought online. Patek Philippe finally got his hands on it, but Chen Guang's mood of being stimulated by Jiang Ye just now was gone. Finally, you're here. My Patek Philippe. Jiang Ye's white jade-like fingers gently rested on the watch. The watch mirror made of natural sapphire was so bright and dazzling under the sunlight. The round and steady dial shone with a silver metallic luster. The hands inside and even every scale on the dial looked so perfect and harmonious. It was simply a work of art that excelled the workmanship of nature. The lines on the crocodile skin strap were so fine and neat, so exquisite that people couldn't bear to touch it. Looking at it quietly, Chen Guang tried to control his breathing and heartbeat. He didn't want to appear so worldly, but this watch was really too important. It was so important that he felt that his heartbeat was about to stop just by looking at it. Jean Shirua on the side took on the role of the commentator. This watch was brought back from Geneva by a friend of mine a few days ago. It is said that it is one of the most satisfactory works of Patek Philippe's chief master, Bronte Comet. Of course, it is only a property after all. It is not as precious as life. When you saved our lives, someone took a video. We saw you sprinting against time in the water, and we also thought that giving you this watch is the best way to express our gratitude. It's nothing. It's really nothing. Everything is predestined. For me to appear there at that time, it was also fate, it was fate. Even without me, maybe someone else could have done it. Chen Guang said, but his heart was beating faster. He had checked the price of Patek Philippe on the internet. He thought it was at most 500,000 or 600,000 yuan. But listening to Jiang Ye and Jean Shirua, it seemed that 5 or 600,000 yuan was not enough to buy this watch. Although he didn't know Bronte Comet, since he was called the chief, the things he made would not be cheaper than those mass-produced by others. Just like the same brush calligraphy, some people's calligraphy was worth more than 10,000 yuan, while some people's rice paper could only be piled up at home. Well, the more valuable it was, the better. Chen Guang slowly reached out and approached the watch little by little. He even blamed Jiang Yage in his heart. Such a valuable thing, but you put it in your bag casually, instead of putting it in a box. What if it was scratched? At this moment, Jiang Yage's fingers accidentally shook, and the Patek Philippe slipped from her fingers and fell to the ground in front of the three people's stunned eyes. I was scared to death. I was scared to death. Fortunately, there was no damage. Chen Guang carefully put the watch into the box and glared at Jiang Yage. Be careful. Look, after I got the thing, I instantly recovered my domineering attitude. Jiang Yage felt wronged. My skin is too good. I didn't expect it to be so smooth. Did you eat slippery fruit? Chen Guang was ready to start the car and leave. Let me tell you. When I saved the two of you that day, Jean Shirue had already lost consciousness. You're probably still a little conscious. At that time, I admired you. You actually pushed Jean Shirue over and you were pushed far away. At that time, I simply admired you and felt that you were a living great man. But now, you have completely destroyed your image of a great man in my heart. Your star image and the light of a saint in my heart have completely collapsed. Ah. There is such a thing? I have no impression at all. Sister Shirue, don't listen to his nonsense. Jiang Yage looked like she didn't remember at all. Bah bah bah. What image of a saint? I am not so noble. Jean Shirue trembled slightly. She squeezed out a complicated smile on her face and glanced at Jiang Yage. Yage, Jiang Yage waved her hand like an electric fan. Sister Shirue, don't look at me like that. I don't believe it myself. Chen Guang, don't talk nonsense. She appeared to be very flustered. Chen Guang didn't expect that after he accidentally said this, it would make the two women so embarrassed. That's true. After all, it's a life. Who can face it calmly? But looking at Jiang Yage's appearance, it seems that she has always remembered it. Jean Shirue only found out today. Well, I took the initiative to help this deceiving woman repair her image. Forget it, I will help them divert attention. If I knew that you didn't want to let Jean Shirue know, I wouldn't have let it slip. By the way, since I said that I will agree to your request, say it. Although I have hundreds of thousands of affairs every minute, I have already planned the whole day for you two distinguished guests. The old man has been running the internet for more than 10 years. I have picked up tens of thousands of customers, but there is really no one as distinguished as you two. Chen Guang began to play funny. His mood is indeed very good. He got the watch. Just now, Jiang Yage went crazy and gave him such a good benefit. How can he not be happy? To be honest, it feels good to be friends with her. Not lacking money. Also giving benefits. But, she shouldn't really like me, right? I feel that she is very slutty. This kind of woman, I can take advantage of her, but I must not take her seriously. Celebrities are really deep. But we are not the same kind of people. Don't think of a toad eating swan meat. Jiang Yage and Jean Shirue immediately diverted their attention. Chapter 191. Then we'll go with the original plan? Jiang Yage's eyes lit up as she asked Jean Shirue. Jean Shirue was a little absent-minded. She nodded and said, that's it. Take us out to play. It's been a long time since the two of us had a good time playing together. You know how tiring it is to be a celebrity. There's no freedom at all. Jiang Yage leaned against the back of the passenger seat and said to Chen Guang. Chen Guang thought that they were probably going to the private club for coffee. He nodded and said, okay. I'll do whatever you want. Jiang Yage was overjoyed. Then it's a deal. Let's go to Disneyland. Chen Guang's mind was in a daze until the three of them stood nervously under the Ferris wheel. He didn't think that the two of them would be so daring. They didn't play by the rules and were completely unreasonable. Weren't they afraid of being recognized? Well, there was no possibility of being recognized. Sun hats, big sunglasses, and big masks with Nick the Fox and Judy the Bunny printed on them. It's fine if we're fully armed, but why are you doing the same? Don't you look even more suspicious? Jiang Yage said in a muffled voice through the mask. Chen Guang didn't look much better. He wore the same big sunglasses, and from his neck all the way to his eyes, he was wrapped tightly in his scarf. He was quite safe like this. It was just a little hot. After all, it was a summer day when a child was licking two popsicles. The scarf was too thick, and Chen Guang's voice sounded like a cricket trapped in a pressure cooker. If the two of you are recognized, you can run back and continue your celebrity life. I can't. I still have to study in school and earn money. If I'm involved in a scandal, how am I going to live in the future? But isn't your scarf too suspicious? Isn't there a more reliable way? Jean Shirue couldn't help but ridicule him. She seemed to have adjusted her state of mind. Chen Guang said helplessly, "Didn't I go look for a mask seller just now? I can't find it. Seriously, you two didn't even prepare one more for me. I didn't expect you to come to an amusement park with so many people coming and going." Chen Guang felt that everyone who passed by them seemed to be sizing them up suspiciously. There was something fishy about everyone. Fortunately, it was a lucky hit. His appearance was too eye-catching, so he stole the limelight from the two women. Not many people noticed these two ticking time bombs. Although it wasn't the peak season, the newly opened Disneyland's business was booming. There was a sea of people. Chen Guang was as nervous as a sheepdog that had brought two lambs into a pack of wolves. But thankfully, he managed to escape unscathed after trying the roller coaster, trapeze, Ferris wheel, and pirate ship. All right, you might as well take off your scarf. I have a feeling that you're going to get a heatstroke. Jiang Yage took out a handkerchief from her pocket and wiped it on Chen Guang's reddened forehead with pity. Chen Guang took a step back without a change in expression. It's fine, it's fine. I'm in good health. I can take it. What are we going to play next? Let's go play the bumper cars. Jiang Yage suddenly had a whim. What if you knock your hat off? When we were on the roller coaster just now, your hat almost flew off. Chen Guang objected. Jean Shirue was perhaps a little thirsty. She said, "Wait a moment, I'll go buy 3 bottles of drinks." Sure, but you two have to go to the toilet to drink. You have to take off your masks when you drink water. Chen Guang's vigilance was also unparalleled. A person with non-obsessive compulsive disorder couldn't consider so many details. Don't listen to him. We won't be discovered if we pull apart a little. Sister Shirue, go quickly. We'll wait for you here. As elegant ladies and dignified national idols, how could they agree to Chen Guang's unscrupulous suggestion? It was impossible even if they were beaten to death. In fact, this kind of thing should have been done by Chen Guang, but Jean Shirue seemed to have completely planned to give up the idea of Chen Guang in her heart. Since Chen Guang leaked the matter of Jiang Yage's life, although there was no change on the surface, her behavior had been a lot more polite to Chen Guang. Jiang Yage hadn't noticed it yet, but Chen Guang had vaguely felt it. Perhaps when Jean Shirue had held his hand at the airport earlier, there had been a deeper meaning behind it. Unfortunately, the deeper meaning had only just begun to emerge and was about to be gradually buried by her. However, Chen Guang didn't have any regrets. After all, he and they weren't people of the same world. As for Jiang Yage, he always felt that Jiang Yage was joking with him. He thought that Jiang Yage's personality was just that cheerful and bold. Her so-called intimate and ambiguous actions were because she was like that. You could be friends, but don't think that she would really treat you seriously. If your heart was moved, you would probably end up with a body full of injuries. Although she actually gave him benefits, it only made Chen Guang subconsciously feel that she was this unruly. At this time, Jin Shirue took the initiative to buy drinks for herself to create a rare time for the two of them to be alone. Unfortunately, Chen Guang and Jiang Yage didn't realize it. In the end, in less than a minute, he heard a scream from the crowd. The voice was familiar, it was Jin Shirue. Chen Guang hurriedly looked over and saw that she was surrounded by 4 young men. With one look, he could tell that these 4 young men were hot-blooded and vigorous. Qin Yishui was wearing a short singlet, revealing the strong muscles on his shoulders. Chen Guang also had a headache. This was the situation he was most afraid of when he brought these 2 out. Even though the 2 of them covered their faces, they couldn't hide the excellent figures that they had trained as artists over the years. Women who were too beautiful were indeed troublemakers. "Little girl, you stepped on brother's foot. Do you want to leave without saying sorry?" Jin Shirue hugged the 3 bottles of drinks with both hands and desperately bowed to the young man who was talking to her. She forcefully lowered her voice and said, "Sorry, I'm really sorry. I didn't do it on purpose." She didn't dare to make her voice too loud. After all, their voices were very recognizable and she was afraid that others would recognize them. Louder. "Little girl, your voice is too soft. I can't hear you clearly. Is there something wrong with you? Why are you wrapped up so tightly on such a hot day? Are you ashamed?" The young man in a singlet looked at Jin Shirue with a sly smile and smacked his lips. There was indeed a shoe print on the back of his foot from Jin Shirue's step. He led the other 3 people to block Jin Shirue and not let her leave. It was obvious that he had taken a fancy to Jin Shirue, who had a perfect figure. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was playing a hooligan in public. He even planned to tear off Jin Shirue's mask to see if this woman's face was as perfect as her figure so that he could more or less take advantage of her. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly extended his hand, intending to tear off Jin Shirue's mask. Jin Shirue panicked. She wanted to retreat, but there was also a young man in a singlet behind her. She could only let go of the 3 bottles of drinks and try to protect her mask first. Chen Guang broke into a run as he watched. There were already many people looking in Jin Shirue's direction. It would be terrible if she really tore off this bastard's mask in public. Chapter 192. Killing is just a matter of nodding one's head to the ground. Stop. Before he got close, Chen Guang had already shouted at the top of his lungs. The 4 men in tank tops looked towards Chen Guang's direction and saw an even more suspicious scarf-masked man coming towards them. Behind him was a beauty with a mask and sunglasses. Interesting. A man and 2 women sneaking around. What is there to hide from others? Your woman stepped on my foot. How can I, Ruan Jiankai, put my face when you tell me to stop? The most arrogant man in tank top was obviously not going to let it go so easily. That's right. Kid, do you know who Brother Jiankai is? He's a seated fighter in our city's martial arts competition. He's a reputable person. Don't you want your woman to apologize? Since Ruan Jiankai said his name, the other 3 men didn't hide it anymore. One of them said this and blocked Chen Guang. Since Ruan Jiankai was a contestant in some kind of fighting competition, the other 3 should be similar to him. They were also martial artists. Jin Shirue's heart turned cold. She didn't expect that she accidentally stepped on someone's foot while buying a drink. She didn't expect to provoke someone who learned martial arts. Moreover, the other party's temper was so hard to deal with. What should she do now? Jiang Yage was still a little far away. Hearing this, she frowned and stopped, intending to call someone. F***CK. I don't care if you're Ruan Jiankai or a soft-footed shrimp. Scram. I'll beat you to death. Chen Guang was furious. Seeing that something big was about to happen, he was burning with anxiety and his temper flared up. Seeing that the other party wasn't going to be kind, he naturally struck first to gain the upper hand. He had to protect Jin Shiryue's mask. He couldn't let her recognize him. His heavy fist, filled with anger, smashed towards the nose of the man in front of him. No one thought that Chen Guang would take the initiative to attack. His sudden attack caught everyone off guard. The heavy fist, with a violent anger, smashed fiercely on the kid's face. With a muffled sound, the man didn't even have the chance to scream or raise his hand to cover his nose. Instead, he fell to the ground. He was knocked out on the spot by Chen Guang's sudden heavy punch. Jiang Yage, who was about to call for help, was dumbfounded. Her phone fell to the ground with a clatter. There was only one thought in her mind. Oh no. Ruan Jiankai, who was about to grab Jin Shiryue, was also dumbfounded. The young man who blocked Chen Guang was his junior in the dojo. Although his strength wasn't that great, he had been training in combat for half a year. His body was also very sturdy. His coach said that he had quick reflexes and was a good seedling, but he was knocked down in one move. There was no reason for that. Jin Shiryue cupped her hands and covered her eyes. She couldn't bear to look in that direction. Her mind was blank. Someone in the crowd next to her had already screamed. Those who saw the whole thing from the beginning to the end were secretly cursing Chen Guang for being too impulsive. Doesn't this young man know how to talk nicely to others? There are 4 of them, and they are all so sturdy. Something big is going to happen. Sigh, he can't do anything about it. Look at the other 4 young men. They don't look like they can talk nicely. He can't do anything about it, right? Why don't we help him call the police? Why do you care so much about other people's business? Let's go, let's go. Many people around had the same thought at this time, but there were also some brave people who couldn't bear to leave and continue to watch the show. Ruan Jiankai first glared at Jin Shiryue fiercely and said, "I'll come back to deal with you later." Although one of his people was down, Ruan Jiankai didn't particularly care. After all, the young man was a newcomer. His level was relatively low. Perhaps he was caught off guard by the sudden sneak attack. The other 2 people had already moved in the direction of Chen Guang one after the other. Looking at their companion who had fallen on the ground, his eyes were open, but only the whites of his eyes could be seen. His nose was bleeding, and the bridge of his nose was crooked to one side. It seemed that the injury was not light. It was unknown whether it was dislocated or fractured. Tragic, really tragic. The 2 of them were suddenly furious. They were people who had trained hard in the boxing ring and obtained a lot of results, but they were actually knocked down by this young man's sneak attack. How could they tolerate this? Brat! Do you want to die? One of them clenched his fist and came in the direction of Chen Guang. He had learned from the previous person's lesson. Although he looked arrogant on the surface, he had secretly concentrated all his energy and planned to teach the sinister villain a lesson. Chen Guang was silent and continued to move forward. He only stopped when he was in front of this person. Get out of the way. Once he thought of the impact that might be caused if Jin Shiryue's mask was pulled off, Chen Guang's mood couldn't be good. Moreover, it was clearly these few grandsons who were pestering him. Did they really think that he was made of clay? Damn, we all thought that we were the most arrogant, but you're almost as arrogant as the heavens. This person first cursed, then angrily threw a punch, aiming directly at Chen Guang's face. Chen Guang suddenly leaned to the side and tilted his head to the side, narrowly avoiding the opponent's punch. Then, he slightly bent his waist and clenched his right hand into a fist. Suddenly, he punched upwards and hit the opponent's chin. Chen Guang's movements were too fast, and the strength of his fist was too strong. Although this person already knew that he was in trouble when Chen Guang dodged, and that his opponent was really an expert, his reaction was a step too late. Chen Guang's punch sent him flying into the air before he fell to the ground. In the end, he couldn't even last a single round. After putting down the second person, Chen Guang didn't stop. He took a step forward with his right foot, and before the second person fell to the ground, he had already swept past him. The third guy in tank top was first shocked, and subconsciously took a step back. What are you afraid of? He can't possibly let all four of us be defeated by him alone. Ruan Jiankai had already walked up, and said fiercely from behind. Brother Jiankai, he seems to be really strong. Although this person no longer retreated, he didn't dare to move forward. Ruan Jiankai snorted, how strong can he be? Coward. Get lost. Ruan Jiankai said, clenched his fist, and stood in front of Chen Guang. Chen Guang tilted his head and looked at Jin Shiyue, who was blocked behind him. Thank God, her Nick Fox mask was still on her face. This matter was caused by you guys. If you are a little more conscientious and step aside, I won't pursue this matter any further. Chen Guang said with a straight face. Hee. Do you think I won't pursue this matter just because you say so? Do you really think you're a big shot just because you have a little bit of skill? Today, I will teach you what it means to say that there is always someone better than you. Ruan Jiankai was a hot-tempered person, and as a professional fighter, he had his own pride. His own people were beaten up in front of his eyes, and he felt that he couldn't be kind. Although the cause of this matter was indeed because he had bad intentions towards Jin Shiyue, he didn't think that he was in the wrong. As soon as he finished speaking, he took the initiative to attack Chen Guang. He suddenly pounced forward, and raised his leg, which was a combination of Muay Thai techniques, and a knee strike. His movement was very fast. From the moment he was about to raise his leg to the knee strike in front of Chen Guang, it was only a short moment, and it carried a strong and heavy force. At this moment, Chen Guang was truly enraged. Fuck. You want to die? I will fulfill your wish. He suddenly took half a step back, clenched his right hand into a fist, and punched Ruan Jiankai's knee meniscus from top to bottom. Chen Guang's fist and Ruan Jiankai's knee strike were actually going to meet force with force. A cold smile appeared on Ruan Jiankai's face. I have been training in martial arts for at least 5 to 6 years, and this knee strike technique is even more years of hard work. You actually dare to use your fist to attack, aren't you afraid of breaking your wrist? Just as he was thinking about this, bang! A muffled sound that made people's ears ache rang out, and the fist and knee finally collided fiercely. Then, Chen Guang's fist did not bend as he expected, but a sharp pain came from his own knee. How could he have known that his knee indeed had several years of hard work, but Chen Guang's fist had been trained in the sea of fleeting time for 20 years. Pain shot through his whole body like lightning, and Ruan Jiankai's mouth opened wider and wider, and he was about to cry out in pain. But Chen Guang suddenly formed a claw with his left hand, and grabbed his face. His left leg stepped forward, tripping Ruan Jiankai's left calf, and his left hand exerted force, and Ruan Jiankai's whole body fell backwards. From the beginning of the fight to the time all three of them were knocked down, not even 40 seconds had passed. Feeling the dull pain in the bones of his right hand, Chen Guang grinned. This person had some skill, and if he was not careful and really fought with him in a tug of war, he might not have won so easily. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for daring to meet force with me. In the blink of an eye, the situation had changed, and the surrounding crowd was completely dumbfounded. The last guy in a vest wasn't much better. He was trembling and couldn't say a word. How could he still dare to be arrogant? Chapter 193. Chen Guang clapped his hands and walked straight to Jin Shiyue. He smiled at her and bent down to pick up the 3 bottles of drinks that were scattered on the ground. All right, let's go. It's not a big deal. Even if they call the police, we don't have to be afraid. They were the ones who took liberties with innocent women first. As he spoke, Chen Guang realized that the area in front of his mouth was empty. The violent movement just now had caused the scarf to fall off his face. But it didn't matter. Anyway, Jin Shiyue's mask was still on. Jin Shiyue nodded blankly and was about to follow Chen Guang out. At that moment, Jin Shiyue's mind was in a daze and her heart was pounding. Although Chen Guang's earlier actions were extremely violent, and she might not have seen such a clean and direct fight in the movies that she had acted in, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. But at that moment, Jin Shiyue did not feel that Chen Guang was violent at all. Instead, her heart was in turmoil. He saw that I was bullied, and he was actually so angry. I thought that he only treated me as an ordinary friend. I thought that he was just being polite. So, he actually cared about me that much? Jin Shiyue had suppressed her thoughts with great difficulty. But at that moment, she started to feel restless again. Jiang Yage stood far away from the crowd. Her emotions were complicated as well. At that moment, Chen Guang was just like the Prince Charming that she had imagined countless times in her mind. He galloped over, reached out his hand, and saved her from danger. Although he was not saving her, but her good sister, Jin Shiyue, Jiang Yage not only sympathized with him, but also put herself in Jin Shiyue's shoes. This was the second time he had saved us. At that moment, the surrounding crowd suddenly screamed, "Jiang Yage! Oh my God! That's Jiang Yage! Holy shit!" Chen Guang turned his head to look at Jiang Yage. He saw her standing there with a flustered and confused face. She was holding her cell phone and sunglasses, and her mask was hanging on her chin. Her pretty face was completely exposed. Just now, when she wanted to call for help, she felt that the other party might not be able to hear her clearly through the mask, so she subconsciously took off her mask. Then, the phone slipped out of her hand and fell to the ground. When she bent over to pick it up, her sunglasses fell again. After she picked it up, she only held the sunglasses in her hand and forgot to put them back on. Heaven and earth! Chen Guang was about to cry. "You're playing with me." I exhausted all my energy, went through untold hardships, and didn't hesitate to use a heavy hand to beat these 4 grandchildren until they couldn't get up and kept howling in pain. Wasn't I afraid that Jin Shiyue's mask would be pulled off and exposed? I finally managed to do it without any mishaps, but your level of self-destruction is too much. At that critical moment, Chen Guang cursed Jiang Yage, that stupid woman's IQ, in his heart. At the same time, he quickly pulled up his scarf and wrapped it around his face. "Don't say anything, just hide my face first." There were already people taking out their cell phones. Chen Guang felt that he had to carry an electromagnetic interference device with him in the future. Why did he always end up in a situation where he couldn't let others take pictures of him? Ruan Jiankai, who was lying on the ground, and the 4th guy in a tank top who hadn't been beaten up yet were also frightened. Everyone knew that Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue were inseparable. If the person standing there was Jiang Yage, then the person he had surrounded and tried to flirt with just now would have been Jin Shiyue. At that moment, Ruan Jinkai's heart was on the verge of collapse. If he had known that the woman in front of him was a national idol, he wouldn't have dared to flirt with her like that. He would have turned into a fanatical fan and desperately tried to get an autograph or a photo with her. As the first person screamed, countless people's eyes turned to Jiang Yage, who was stunned by the sudden change. Chen Guang wasn't any better than Jiang Yage. His brain had completely shut down, and he felt like the end of the world was coming. In his mind, the movie World War of the Zombies, by Brad Pitt appeared, in which countless crazy zombies attacked from all directions. It was too scary, too scary. At that critical moment, Jin Shiyue, who was experienced in dealing with such situations, was the first to react. She grabbed Chen Guang's hand and dashed towards Jiang Yage, shouting, "Run!" Although the national goddess had suddenly grabbed his hand, Chen Guang didn't feel excited at all. However, he reacted quickly. Seeing that some people had already started taking pictures, and more people were rushing forward, he immediately sped up and pulled Jin Shiyue forward. Although the people surrounding them might not have any evil intentions, the excited smiles on their faces were like scourges and fierce beasts in the eyes of Chen Guang and Jin Jiang. In fact, the 2 girls had encountered a similar situation many years ago. In the end, the 2 of them finally escaped from the crowd after much effort. According to the statistics, there was even a stampede at that time, and people were injured. Popularity brought not only benefits, but also fear. Humans were creatures that could infect each other. When a crowd gathered together, a person's mood would no longer be independent. Instead, it would be affected by the surrounding crowd. It could be excitement, agitation, or even madness. Jiang Yage. Why are you still standing there like a fool? Hurry up and put on your mask and run. Seeing that Jiang Yage was still standing there, Chen Guang shouted. Jiang Yage suddenly came back to her senses and pulled up her mask in a panic. However, her other hand was grabbed by Chen Guang, who rushed to her side. Just like that, Chen Guang's left hand was holding Jiang Yage's, and his right hand was holding Jin Shiyue's. It really lived up to their name, left and right hand. There was really no time to explain to the crowd, and it was impossible to calm them down with just a few words. There were too many people in Disneyland. The commotion was like a plague, quickly spreading among the crowd. Left and right hand had been popular all over the country for 10 years. Starting from child stars, too many people watched the two step by step to the position of movie, television, and song superstars. Not everyone was their fan, but there were definitely a lot of people who knew the two people. In addition, there was almost no negative news about the two people, so even if they were not their fans, it did not prevent others from taking a closer look at the stars. Seeing that the crowd in front of them was almost about to surround them, Chen Guang pulled the two women and formed a spearhead, desperately running forward, shouting, "I've got the wrong person, I've got the wrong person." Of course, no one would believe this kind of nonsense. If you really are not, why are you sneaking around and covering your face? Fortunately, the two women were good at singing and dancing, and often acted in ancient martial arts dramas. After long-term training, their athletic ability was much better than ordinary people. Chen Guang also deliberately suppressed his speed and did not use all his strength to run, but the three of them still rushed out before the crowd surrounded them. When they rushed out, relying on the memory in his mind, Chen Guang wanted to run in the direction of the parking lot. At first, the people in front did not know what the commotion in the crowd behind them was about, but when they heard the black mass of people constantly shouting the two names of Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage, and then saw the man and two women running in front of the crowd, they immediately guessed what was going on. There were not many opportunities to be so close to the stars, and the people were even the left and right hand. The middle-aged and elderly people might be able to calm down, but some students, especially middle and high school students, were completely boiling. In this amusement park, the main road from the parking lot and the various entertainment facilities were the most people. The people there were instantly piled up. Great, now I can't go. Go where there are less people, I can't stop. About 7 or 8 minutes later, Chen Guang, Jin Shiyue, and Jiang Yage huddled together, not daring to breathe. Listening to the dense footsteps outside and the hustle and bustle gradually fade away, the three of them all breathed a sigh of relief. Oh my God, I've finally hidden it. Chapter 194. At that moment, the three of them were hiding in a blue container truck. It was also a blessing from the heavens that the three of them relied on their superior physical strength to forcibly escape from the pursuit of countless people. Although there was still a large group of people behind them, Disneyland security guards reacted in time and started to take action, more or less delaying the pace of the people behind them, which gave them the most precious time. Although the three of them didn't enter the public parking lot, after countless turns, they turned a corner and accidentally ran into the staff building of Disneyland's management office. It was the staff parking lot. There was an empty container truck parked in the parking lot, but it wasn't locked. Chen Guang knew that running like this wasn't a solution. It would only make the chaos in Disneyland more and more serious, and it might even turn into a stampede. When he saw the container truck, he made sure that it was in the blind spot of the people behind them. He made a prompt decision, rushed up, and threw the two of them up. Then he quickly got into the truck, closed the door, and hid inside. Those people should have gone far, right? After a long time, Jiang Yage asked in a low voice with a red face. Chen Guang took off his scarf. He was so bored that he couldn't stand it anymore. You still have the cheek to talk. Can you be any worse? Why are you wearing a mask? You even took off your sunglasses. Even if you had kept your sunglasses, it would have been better. Your ability to screw over your teammates is truly unprecedented. Jiang Yage was so embarrassed that she explained the situation in a low voice with a red face. Chen Guang wanted to kick her to death. You really can't do anything right, but you always spoil things. Jin Shiyue didn't say anything from the beginning to the end, because until now, Chen Guang was still holding her hand tightly. Since she was a child, she had never held hands with anyone for such a long time, even when she was acting. Chen Guang was exerting his strength, since he was exhausted from running earlier. Hence, the temperature of his palms was high, which made Jin Shiyue feel warm in her heart and hands. On the other side, Jiang Yage was not unhappy at all after being taught a lesson by Chen Guang. Instead, she felt surprised. In the past, no one had dared to teach her like this. Even her peers who were of the same status as her all acted like gentlemen in front of her, not to mention those who wanted to flatter her. Among the boys of Chen Guang's age, there were quite a number of them who were fans of the two of them. There were a large number of them who were chasing after them just now. If those people saw her, they would be so nervous that they would be breathless. Jiang Yage felt very strange. Brother Chen Guang was also an ordinary college student. Why was he so different from others? No wonder I fell in love with him so easily from the beginning and was so determined to devote myself to him. He's really special. If Chen Guang knew what Jiang Yage was thinking, old Master Guang would probably just want to howl to the heavens. I used to have a very high and unattainable attitude towards you. Alright, you destroyed your own image in front of me. Your idol image in my heart has long been shattered into pieces. At this moment, the door of the container truck shook violently. The three of them were stunned. What's going on? Kacha, kacha, kacha sounds came from outside again. The three of them looked at each other in confusion. The container truck was locked from the outside. It can't be so coincidental. We've only been hiding for a few minutes, and the driver is already back. Alright, actually, a few minutes was really a long time. Chen Guang stood up and ran to the door of the container truck. He peeked through the gap and saw that there was no one outside. What do we do now? Jin Shiyue's hand was finally released by Chen Guang. Her heart felt empty, but she quickly calmed down and got up to ask. Jiang Yage moved to Chen Guang's side and pretended to push the door open. Chen Guang stopped her. Don't. It should be the driver who locked the door. Before he finished speaking, the truck started. Chen Guang pulled the two of them to a corner and sat down together before continuing. Aren't we worried about not being able to get out of the amusement park? Isn't it better to take this truck? If we knock now, what if someone sees us when we go out? After all, our clothes and the combination of one man and two women have been recorded. The two girls nodded in unison, feeling that what Chen Guang said made sense. Do you see the hole in the top of the container? It can be ventilated. Although it's a little hot inside, it won't suffocate. It's stable, anyway, it's safe. When he gets out of the amusement park, we can go and knock on the back window. He can hear the sound. Seeing that the two girls were still a little uneasy, Chen Guang comforted them again. His heart felt stifled. I knew nothing good would come out of bringing you out. As expected. Mr. Policeman, please believe us. We are really innocent. We are not suspicious people. Really. Look at my sincere eyes. I'm a student of Gokyo University. This is my student ID. I'm also a good Samaritan. Oh, I also have a silk banner. This was given to me by the Wenxing Town branch. Look at this photo on my phone. He's a real good citizen. After saying these words, Chen Guang desperately widened his eyes. His pair of affectionate eyes exuded a charming radiance as he stared at the handsome young policeman in front of him. The young and handsome policeman in uniform looked at the three people in front of him suspiciously. He felt that these three people were playing with him. Do you think I'll believe you? The policeman's brows furrowed even tighter. Especially when he saw the silk banner that Chen Guang presented like a treasure. On the left were the words, Wenxing Town Branch. He almost laughed out loud. As for Chen Guang's sincere eyes that he thought could move China, he was completely ignored. Officer. These 3 people are really suspicious. I was just waiting for the traffic light when they suddenly knocked on my back window. It scared me. I quickly got out of the car and opened it. These 3 people were actually hiding in my container. Look at them, if they aren't thieves, what else can they be? The bearded truck driver was complaining about what had happened to him in an emotional tone. That's right. At this moment, Chen Guang and the other 2 were indeed wrapped up tightly. Jin Jiang and Jin Guang had returned to their previous big sunglasses, sun hat and animal masks. Chen Guang was even worse. His scarf was wrapped so tightly that only his eyes could be seen. That was why he said to look at his sincere eyes, because he couldn't see his face at all. All right. You didn't suffer any financial losses, did you? The policeman was quite easy to talk to. The driver nodded. I didn't lose anything. If you didn't lose anything, then leave first. You're such a big truck. You're blocking the traffic by stopping at this intersection. I'll bring these 3 people back to the station to record their statements. The policeman seemed to have made a decision. This frightened Chen Guang and Jin Jiang. With their condition, if they were to be sent to the police station, it would be disastrous. Helpless, Jin Shiyue could only step forward. After the driver left, she walked forward. After a while, she took off her mask, took off her sunglasses, and raised her head to look at the policeman. Hello, comrade. I'm Jin Shiyue. We really aren't suspicious people. It was just a freak combination of factors that led to us being locked in the container truck. Ah. Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God. Jin Shiyue. Oh my God. I've liked you for a whole 8 years. I've been collecting your posters since junior high. Old Master Guang was completely dumbfounded. Grenade-throwing Lu. This policeman is the real explosive fanatic. Can your level get any lower? Can your voice be any louder? I feel embarrassed for Wu Tong. She's actually in the same team as a scammer like you. Chapter 195. Run. No explanation. Without hesitation, Chen Guang quickly asked Jin Shiyue to put on a mask and ran away. Chen Guang pulled the 2 of them and ran 2 steps away. The policeman, who was on the verge of breaking down, squatted on the ground and cried. Damn, he's really a loyal fan. I can understand you a little. If I saw Ronaldo when I was in junior high, I probably wouldn't be any better. But now I'm a victim. Police comrade. Look at your uniform. Can you not add to the mess? You have to live up to your profession. Chen Guang threw out such a sentence from afar, but he had already run 20 to 30 meters away with the 2 girls. Fortunately, the crowd on the street wasn't that dense. In addition, Chen Guang's reaction was fast enough. Although many people looked suspiciously at the policeman who was crying on the ground, they didn't chase after him. Even the police were beaten to tears. How ferocious must this man and 2 women be? Don't be a busybody. The 3 of them sprinted all the way. When they passed by a clothing store, they went in. They didn't say anything else. Let's change first. We still have to go back to the amusement park to drive the car away. The 2 women, Jean and Jiang, also had quite a lot of cash on them. Although they looked suspicious, they were generous and did not haggle over the price at all. After a bit of picking and choosing, they let Chen Guang take the clothes to the counter and pay for them. He immediately changed into the clothes he was wearing. The people in the clothing store were making money, so they did not ask much. Needless to say, these 2 women were simply natural clothes hangers. They casually picked out clothes, and they looked graceful and beautiful when they wore them. Then the question was, why the hell were there no men's clothing stores along the way? Women's money was so easy to earn. Gender discrimination, I protest. I won't change my clothes, Chen Guang bit the bullet and said. But your scarf is also very conspicuous, and your Hawaiian suit is even more conspicuous. You will definitely be recognized. Our tracks have been exposed just now. If there are paparazzi with a keen sense of smell, they might be rushing over at this time. Jean Shirue said with some worry. Jiang Yage giggled. That's right. A mysterious man and two women visiting Disneyland together. Such a headline would be on the front page everywhere. Chen Guang pushed him away. All right, there's no need to say any more. I understand. Hey, can we not choose a dress? Can you stop playing? Chen Guang clenched his fists tightly behind Jiang Yage's back. I'm not joking. I want to strangle you with my scarf. Shirue is still the most considerate. At least she chose something more neutral for me, but isn't this a little too small? Pfft. Fine, I haven't bought any clothes yet, so I have to fork out some money first. After all, Chen Guang was 1.8 meters tall. He didn't look strong on the outside, but his body was full of muscles. He had a good figure, but now it had become a problem. He couldn't fit into his neutral business attire. In the end, he still found something suitable for him. That's right, it was a maternity dress. Thankfully, it wasn't pink. It was a beautiful ocean blue. What the hell is this lace at the collar? I object. Oh, do you have any lace ones over there? But it's either pink or with red cherries. Do as you see fit. Jiang Yage looked at Chen Guang's appearance. If it wasn't for the fact that she didn't dare to make too much noise, she wouldn't have been able to hold it in. Chen Guang secretly made up his mind. To think that I, the dignified second officer of the En Royal who killed people like flies, to think that I, the owner of the heavenly Holy Grail, was reduced to wearing a maternity dress. What a scam. When I get back, I will definitely burn these clothes to comfort my spirit in heaven. By the way, you have to change out of this dress later. I bought it based on my height. You can use it in the future. Don't waste it, Jiang Yage suddenly added. Chen Guang slapped himself hard on the face. He couldn't live anymore. Why didn't he just get rid of the evidence? The three of them returned to the parking lot with trepidation. Like thieves, they ran in the direction of Chen Guang's little rundown Rena. They had just gotten into the car. When Chen Guang was about to take off his clothes, a Volkswagen Golf stopped beside him. Jiang Yage reacted quickly. She glanced over and saw a guy wearing a cap. He got out of the car with an SLR cannon in his hand. Paparazzi. Jiang Yage lowered her voice and reminded him. Chen Guang was about to take off his clothes. When he heard the voice, he was almost scared out of his wits. At this moment, the person next to him was about to rush into the amusement park, but he subconsciously looked to his side and happened to see Jiang Yage looking at him through the brown rear window. Oh my God. The veteran paparazzi who came to inquire about the situation jumped back in fright. He reflexively raised his SLR cannon. His professionalism was really high. On the other side, Chen Guang's face turned green with fright. Why the hell did he change into a maternity dress? Just run. He activated his racing god special skill. He slammed down on the accelerator. The tachometer went straight to 5,000 RPM. The little rundown Rena sped out with its tires on fire, leaving behind a cloud of thick, choking smoke. The paparazzi was very professional. Chen Guang's racing sense was not bad either. The paparazzi with the cap had only raised his SLR cannon halfway. He could only squint at the cars but from the smoke. Chase. Fortunately, the parking lot where they were was paid by hand. There were no railings at the entrance. Chen Guang rushed out directly. Otherwise, he would have crashed into the railings. What the hell is going on today? It's more exciting than fighting a war. Whoever becomes your man in the future, unless he is a famous person, who can stand it? Chen Guang sighed and let out a sigh of relief. He was really on the verge of breaking down. What he said was true, but it made Jean Yage and Jiang Yage's expressions dim. These two girls were in their prime, but they never thought about the relationship between a man and a woman. First, they didn't meet someone they liked. Second, it was because of this. At this moment, Chen Guang just let out a sigh of relief. From the corner of his eye, he saw the white Golf rushing out of the parking lot from the rearview mirror. As a top paparazzi, oh no, an entertainment reporter, he was so close to the headlines. How could he let go of the opportunity to soar into the sky? If he didn't get some real photos, he swore not to give up. That guy also snorted. He actually chased out. Chen Guang snorted. Want to chase me? Jiang Yage can't even catch up with me in a Ferrari 488. You want to chase me with this broken Golf? Stop messing around, okay? The guy in front of you is the invincible racing god who earns 100,000 yuan a day, okay? 15 minutes later, Chen Guang's career as a racing god collapsed once again. Damn, you're cheating. Why is your Golf a 2.0T turbocharged cannon? It's not a 1.6L inline 4-cylinder. This son of a b** TCH only needs 6.9 seconds to accelerate 100 km per hour. On this comprehensive road condition, and without breaking the rules, it's not much worse than a Ferrari. I can't die in peace. There's no other way. If I want to get rid of him, I can only use the same trick. Chen Guang's face darkened. Both of you, remember to fasten your seatbelts later. We're going to Phoenix Spring Mountain again. Chapter 196. After making up his mind, Chen Guang went straight to Fengquan Mountain. That place was basically his territory. Although that bastard small cannon was powerful, even semi-professional drivers like Zhong Bai had to eat dust when driving a supercar, let alone him. Along the way, the Golf made use of its acceleration function to rush to Chen Guang's side several times. However, Jin Guang and Jiang Yuning were already prepared and had curled up under the back seat, so they couldn't capture anything. Chen Guang had also wrapped himself tightly with a scarf. Halfway there, that bastard finally couldn't help it. Taking advantage of a red light, he got out of the car and wanted to rush directly to the window to take pictures. Chen Guang was also straightforward. He also got out of the car and waved his fist directly. The two sides fought for less than 5 seconds. How could a mere paparazzi be a match for Master Guang? He immediately fell to the ground. Chen Guang was planning to give him a ruthless beating so that this bastard would completely lose his ability to move, but the traffic police not far away were already rushing over here. There were still 2 large time bombs in the car. Chen Guang had no choice but to let the police call him over for questioning. He simply threw this bastard aside and went back to the car. The red light just turned green, and he decisively left. The paparazzi with a cap was beaten up, and his whole body was bruised. But in this line of work, he had been beaten up more than once or twice, and it was not very shameful. He was still in a hurry to chase after people, so he quickly got into the car and only threw a sentence to the traffic police who had just arrived. It's okay, it's okay. It's just a joke between friends. Thank you, comrade police. Since then, this man didn't dare to get out of the car again. He still stuck close to the side during the race, but he shrank far away at the traffic lights. Chen Guang was also helpless. If they really raced, even if there was a huge difference in the performance of the 2 cars, it would not be difficult to get rid of him. But he really didn't want to violate the rules and cause a storm for no reason. Along the way, he finally drove to the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. The paparazzi who had been following behind saw such a remote road and hesitated a little. He was a little afraid. The brief confrontation just now made him realize that the driver in the car in front of him was really good at fighting. Not to mention that he was the only one today. He was afraid that even several other colleagues from the magazine might not be able to beat him. Could it be that the other party wanted to find a place where no one was around to beat him up, and then smash his camera, phone, driving recorder, and other things into pieces? However, he didn't hesitate for long. It would only take a few seconds. If he could get a substantial piece of material on his left and right hand, the benefits he would gain would probably be in the millions. The benefits were already high enough to drive people crazy, so he dared to risk his life. Apart from that, he had already attached several special hidden pinhole cameras to his body. Even if he was really beaten up, as long as he kept any one of these hidden cameras, today's fight would not be considered a waste. Are we going to accelerate? Jiang Yage asked. She was looking forward to it. The last time she followed behind Chen Guang, she felt that his driving skills were amazing. Now that she had the chance to be in the same car with him and see his godly skills with her own eyes, although she didn't race, it didn't stop her from worshipping him. Jean Shiyue was a little nervous. She squeezed Jiang Yage's hand tightly and whispered, "Brother Chen Guang, be careful too. Don't let anything happen. I've already called Sister Zhou. She's rushing over here with her people. When Sister Zhou arrives, she'll be able to deal with the paparazzi." Chen Guang chuckled. "Don't worry, Shiyue. I'm not bragging, but he can't even catch up to an alto, let alone me driving arena." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly accelerated. The arena's engine roared wildly, and it accelerated like a slingshot. It made a U-turn in front, and the car dragged thick smoke behind it as it swung out in a perfect arc. It was a beautiful, textbook drift. The paparazzi who had been following behind was stunned. Who the F***ck was this guy? He was good at fighting, and he was so reckless when it came to racing. Was he a special agent from 007? I can't accept this. My 1 million yuan. The paparazzi's eyes were red, and he also sped up to catch up. Unfortunately, he didn't know how to drift, and he didn't have the guts to race on a dangerous track like Phoenix Spring Mountain. It took him a lot of effort to decelerate and make the turn, but Chen Guang's Rena had already entered another S-shaped turn. They were less than 100 meters apart just a moment ago, but this short U-turn had widened the gap to more than 400 meters. The Rena was like a loach, drifting twice and rushing out of the S-shaped curve. The poor young man slammed the steering wheel and cursed, F***ck. He's crazy. He still didn't give up, even though the gap had widened again. Chen Guang had lost his temper. He didn't care how desperate the young man behind him was. As long as they were on Phoenix Spring Mountain, he wouldn't drive properly. He rushed all the way, and he encountered a familiar car on the way. He couldn't remember the license plate number, but Chen Guang had an impression of the car model. It was the white magically modified GTR that he had personally driven in the driving god training class. The young man named Wang Qing had a good feeling about it at that time. He was more talented than Zhong Bai when it came to racing. He wasn't like other rich second-generation heirs who raced just for fun or to pick up girls. He really liked racing and enjoyed the extreme speed of sprinting. Chen Guang didn't expect to see him stopping by the side of the road at this time. However, he still had a big tail hanging behind him, and he wasn't in the mood to catch up with him. Chen Guang didn't slow down and whizzed past the white GTR. Wang Qing was leaning against the driver's seat with his eyes closed, thinking about the feeling of racing all the way here. He heard the roar of the engine behind him, and it was a little awkward. It didn't sound like the state of a normal sports car, but more like the overload of a normal car's engine. He opened his eyes and saw a silver Hyundai Rena racing madly along the mountain road. Wang Qing frowned slightly. Like Zhong Bai, he also regarded this track as his family's forbidden land. He was about to stop this reckless guy when he suddenly remembered something. Zhong Bai had once told him that Brother Racing God's car was a silver Hyundai. Could it be Brother Racing God? Just as he was feeling bewildered, Chen Guang had already charged past his car and executed another standard drift. It was smooth and natural, without the slightest hint of sluggishness. When the car's wheels reached the side, it was so fast that half of the car was thrown off the track, but it was pulled back just in time. Wang Qing sat up straight. F***CK. It's really brother racing god. What is he doing here? Chase. He had been practicing his driving skills here for the past few days, and his progress was remarkable. However, how could it be easy to learn racing god's driving skills? There were still a lot of things in his mind that he couldn't figure out. Now that he had seen the person in front of him, how could he calm down? Chapter 197. By the time Wang Qing turned a corner, Chen Guang was already farther away. As expected of brother racing god, Wang Qing's fighting spirit soared, and he sped up to catch up. Unfortunately, when Chen Guang first ran this mountain track, Zhong Bai and the others had to eat dust. Now that he had been running for a whole day, Chen Guang was even more familiar with the road. He could even run with his eyes closed. Even though he was driving a small Renault, his average speed was still above 115 km per hour. Even though Wang Qing's driving skills had improved a lot, he could only barely break the 100 km per hour mark. The difference between him and Chen Guang's 115 km per hour was huge. It was only after Chen Guang was certain that the paparazzi would be left behind that the small Renault could no longer hold on, and it slowed down to run 80 km per hour before Wang Qing finally caught up. The Fengquan mountain track was a unique track. Chen Guang only let the white GTR follow behind him, and he didn't park it by the side of the road. He drove out of the track, turned into a dirt road, and then made a turn to hide behind the woods. After he was sure that the Golf wouldn't be able to find him, Chen Guang stopped the car. He knew that the young man behind him had been following him, and he definitely wanted to talk to him. He quickly took off the maternity clothes and changed into the orange juice-flavored Hawaiian suit. After throwing the maternity clothes back, Chen Guang was ready to get out of the car. You two stay in the car and don't get out. I'll go down and say goodbye to my friends, Chen Guang said to Jin Jiang and Chen Guang. The two women had seen him leave the rich second generation in the dust before, but they didn't expect him to become friends with those people. Are you really going to keep these clothes? Jean Shiyue, who was lying in the back seat, rolled her eyes and said to Jiang Yage. Jiang Yage folded the clothes and stuffed them into her bag. She couldn't stop giggling. Yeah, I'll need them sooner or later. Chen Guang got out of the car and asked Wang Qing about it. Sure enough, the kid had been training hard on the track every day. Wang Qing asked a lot of questions, but Chen Guang couldn't answer any of them. He could only pretend to be knowledgeable, and act like he couldn't explain. After chatting for a while, Chen Guang planned to leave. After all, Jin Jiang and Chen Guang were still sitting in the car. It's not that I want to criticize you, but when it comes to racing, it's fine if you only do it once in a while, but I don't approve of you doing it as a career. Before leaving, Guang thought about it and said so. Wang Qing chuckled. Brother racing god, don't scold me. You're the one who's the best at racing in Wujing City, no, in the whole of China. Seeing that Su Tao wasn't bothered about it, Chen Guang was helpless and waved his hand. Don't say that. I personally don't like racing. I'm good at racing because I'm talented and self-taught, but it doesn't mean that I like it. Anyway, you should pay more attention to yourself. Anyway, you should pay more attention. There's no need to practice every day. Wang Qing said again, I have to practice. I've made rapid progress recently. I'm no match for you, but there's almost no one in Wujing who can compete with me. I guess, after I overcome the last few difficulties, I can almost go to Xiangjiang to participate in the underground racing competition. The Mount Banshan racetrack over there is the holy land for people who like racing in Asia. Masters from all over the world gather there. Only when you make a name for yourself there can you really say that you can race. It's just a small race here. Okay. Pay more attention to your safety. Don't lose your life. Some of my skills are not something that ordinary people can handle. Don't risk your life. By the way, is there a prize for the Mount Banshan racetrack? This was what Chen Guang was concerned about. Wang Qing shrugged indifferently. I heard that the prize is a lot, but I didn't ask carefully. It seems that it's 2 or 3 million yuan at most. But I don't care about the prize. I don't need that money, hee hee. Okay, I won't talk about you anymore. I'll go first. Chen Guang felt that he and Wang Qing were just barely acquaintances. Maybe they weren't even friends. Wang Qing really liked racing and treated it as if it were half his life. It was impossible for him to listen to his advice. It was meaningless to talk to a shallow acquaintance. He went back to his car, started it, and left. After thinking about it, Chen Guang said, "Why don't I send you back to the hotel? Although Shiyue and I weren't photographed, you must have been photographed before. I don't know what's going on the internet now." Jiang Yage waved her hand indifferently. Hey, it doesn't matter. Let them say whatever they want. We didn't do anything sneaky. As long as brother Chen Guang wasn't photographed, it's fine. Jin Shiyue also had the same attitude. Brother Chen Guang, you don't have to worry about us. Sister Zhou will take care of these things for us. It doesn't matter if you two followed a mysterious man to the amusement park? Chen Guang asked curiously. It doesn't matter. You were so good at fighting at that time. You didn't need to find any public relations. Normal people would guess that you were a bodyguard. Ha ha ha. Jiang Yage hit the nail on the head. Chen Guang felt stifled. Right, he really thought too much. What kind of person was Wang Qing's left and right hand? Today, he really acted as both a bodyguard and a driver. Being a bodyguard who could squeeze breasts was actually quite good. However, he really had a nervous breakdown today. Although Jiang Yage wanted to continue playing, Chen Guang finally sent them back to the hotel. When Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage got out of the car, Chen Guang went to the trunk and took out the bouquet of white bell-shaped flowers from it. He handed it to them with a red face. I don't have anything good to give you. After thinking about it, I can only give you this bouquet of flowers. Please don't dislike it. I know you must receive at least a ton of flowers every day, but my gift is light. He couldn't help but blush. When he was racing, he was having a good time, but he forgot that the bouquet was rolling around in the trunk. When he took it out, it was so miserable that it almost didn't look like a human. It was also because he was thick-skinned enough that he could still take it out and give it to others. Jiang Yage was overjoyed. She took the flowers from Chen Guang's hand with a smile. She didn't mind the miserable appearance of the withered flowers at all. She said with a smile, "That's different. The flowers you gave me have a different meaning compared to others. I treasure them." Well, this woman is doing this again. Fortunately, brother has already seen through your nature. Then I'm leaving. With that, Chen Guang got in the car again. This was the entrance of the hotel. Although the two women were still wearing sunglasses and masks, they were still a bit conspicuous. When Chen Guang's car gradually drove away, Jiang Yage turned her head proudly. Sister Shiyue, he gave us flowers. Did my emotional offensive take effect? Jin Shiyue smiled and nodded her head. You think too much. Do you know what the flower language of the white bell-shaped flower is? What? Pure love? Jin Shiyue raised her eyebrows. Gratitude, gratitude. It means pure gratitude. Why is he thanking us? Jiang Yage didn't understand. Jin Shiyue only smiled and didn't say anything. The two walked side by side into the hotel. Jiang Yage suddenly came to her senses and suddenly said, Sister Shiyue, don't you think that brother Chen Guang is actually very short of money? Jin Shiyue nodded. After he saved us, I saw it. Otherwise, why do you think I specially spent time to prepare this watch? He gave us the white bell-shaped flower, which is actually to thank us for giving him this watch. Chapter 198. This watch will be sold by him, right? Jiang Yage asked again. Jean Shirue thought for a moment. Although she was a little disheartened, she still nodded. Most likely. Why don't we just give him money? Jean Shirue shook her head. Don't be fooled by his cheerful appearance. In fact, he is very chauvinistic. He is obviously so short of money, and he knows that the two of us are not short of money, but he is still stubborn and refuses to say anything. If we really dare to give him money, although he will most likely grit his teeth and accept it, he will definitely be ashamed of it. In the future, we can't be friends anymore. Jiang Yage sighed. That's true. Then what should we do? Jean Shirue hugged Jiang Yage's shoulder. Little girl, your heart is really in turmoil. It's too pitiful. Let me help you think of an idea. Although he is very chauvinistic, he is very particular about the principle of fair exchange. Jiang Yage was at a loss. Sister Shirue, I don't understand what you mean. Jean Shirue explained. You see, when he saved us, when Director Old Ma gave him money to express his gratitude, he didn't even blink and accepted it. Also, that day when Sister Zhou was going to write him a check, his eyes were actually shining. Because he felt that this money is our repayment. He should take it, so he doesn't have any psychological barriers. In the future, we will often ask him to take us out to play. Can't we just pay him directly with the accompanying fee? Jiang Yage was immediately overjoyed. That makes sense. Why can those little female stars who just debuted be the companions of other big bosses? Accompanying them to a meal can cost hundreds of thousands of yuan. We can also let brother Chen Guang be our companion. He can drive and play games. Of course, the accompanying fee can't be low. Chen Guang didn't know how these two women were guessing. At this moment, he was standing in a luxurious pawn shop with a pained expression. Looking at the fat boss sitting behind the desk in front of him, he wanted to beat him up. Boss, are you trying to fool me that I don't know anything? This style of authentic Patek Philippe is marked on Jingxi website for 680,000 yuan. It's not like I'm selling something common. It's the masterpiece of Master Bronte Comet. I just got it, and you're telling me I'll take it for 400,000 yuan? Do you think I'm stupid? Chen Guang couldn't help but feel angry. This pawn shop was too much. Based on his estimation, the actual value of this watch was at least 1 million. If the pawn shop was willing to offer 700,000, he might have agreed. However, the other party's price was too high. The fat shopkeeper shifted his body and took out a magnifying glass to examine the watch. He was delighted to find Bronte Comet's miniature signature on it. But he didn't move. He just calmly put the watch back into the gift box and said with a smile, "Little brother, I'm not bragging to you, but you can't find a pawn shop bigger than mine in Wujing City. Besides, a watch is a gift. It depends on the price of the person. Do you think it's valuable?" Of course it's valuable. But speaking of his function, he could also check the time on his phone. After all, a gift watch isn't as practical as a car, and it's not easy to change hands. I'm already very generous to offer you 400,000 yuan. Chen Guang grabbed the box back. I'll give it to you, hee hee. That's too much. I won't sell it to you anymore. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left. The voice of the fat boss came from behind. "Little brother, you better remember the house number of my shop. I bet 100,000 yuan that no one in the entire Wujing City will bid higher than me. Besides, although your watch has Bronte Comet's signature on it, who knows if it's his real handwriting? It could be someone else's laser engraving. You don't even have a certificate. How can I trust you?" Zhao Yu thought. Even if it's real, gifts are usually half sold. Take care, you'll come back sooner or later. If you're still willing to come tomorrow, I'll give you another 20,000 yuan. 420,000 yuan. I won't give more. The fat boss chuckled as he followed behind Chen Guang, chattering until Chen Guang walked out of the pawn shop. Chen Guang was speechless. He really did not have a certificate. When other people brought things to Jin Shirue, they would not worry about whether it was real or fake. A certificate was too cliché, and Jin Shirue would not care about that. Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage gave the watch to Chen Guang and did not consider this problem. But when he really wanted to sell it, it would become an excuse for him to be ripped off by others. There was no place for him to reason with. Chen Guang went to a few more pawn shops. The fat boss was right at the beginning. The highest offer was only 400,000 yuan, and the worst ones even offered 200,000 yuan. Seeing that it was almost 8 p.m., Chen Guang sighed. Forget it. I won't sell it today. I'll go back to school. After thinking about it, I really have to go back to the fat boss tomorrow to take the hit. Forget it. With this, I can barely cover the cost of a kidney transplant. I'll leave it at that. I know I'll be at a disadvantage, but I have no choice but to swallow it. It's really annoying. Back in the dormitory, Chen Guang threw the box on the desk and drank a mouthful of water. He was still angry. With just one slash, 600,000 had flown away. F***ck, my heart was bleeding. Just as he was fuming, Lin Jingwei and the other two came back from the outside noisily. Let me tell you. I'm serious about Gao Ya. Don't F***king give me a reaction behind my ass. Especially you, Bai Nyangzi. Gao Ya is really angry today. Lin Jingwei sounded very angry. Bai Nyangzi apologized carefully. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't expect her to be so shy. I just wanted to help you. Xiong said, Bai Nyangzi, you need to have half of Brother Guang's foresight. My freshman year was also ruined because of you. Lin Jingwei stomped his foot again. Xiong, don't talk about Bai Nyangzi. What do you mean by talking in my sleep in front of everyone? I want to strangle you to death. Chen Guang heard this and laughed. His mood improved a lot. Hearing about someone else's bad luck made him happy. Oh. Brother Guang is back? Where did he run off to for the whole day? Is my gel working? When are you going to buy a box for us? Bai Nyangzi and Xiong went to wash up. Lin Jingwei walked in first. When he saw Chen Guang, he was happy. It was obvious that he was not really angry. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Now that things have come to this, I don't have to be afraid to let you know. I've been out with these two beauties for the whole day. I'm exhausted. D***mn. You really became friends with them? That's right. After all, they saved your life. Miss Jean and Miss Jiang are good people. Lin Jingwei came up and said mysteriously, did anything happen between you two that's beyond friendship? Chen Guang's heart skipped a beat. Did pinching their breasts count as beyond friendship? Of course, he couldn't let these bastards know. He shook his head violently. No. They're as pure as a piece of white paper. You guys better tell me the truth too. At this moment, Lin Jingwei looked around and saw the gift box on the table. He picked it up and opened it. Oh, it's Patek Philippe. It's from the two of them? Chen Guang nodded. Yes. Oh my god. Bronte Comet's work? Lin Jingwei exclaimed again. Chen Guang was even more surprised. The fat boss had to look at it carefully with a magnifying glass to be sure it was authentic. As for Bronte Comet's work, he did not admit it until the end. Lin Jingwei picked it up and looked at it for less than 5 seconds. How could he know it was fake? Is this guy's eyes a microscope or something? How could he be so knowledgeable? Chapter 199. How did you know? Chen Guang asked, puzzled. Lin Jingwei was pleased with himself. Hee hee. Most people don't know that Patek Philippe has a lot of workers, but only a few of them can be called masters. Bronte Comet is famous all over the world, but his watches have an unknown characteristic. Brother Guang, look carefully. The other minute hands are round dots, except for the 7-minute hand, which is a triangle. Qin Guang picked it up and looked at it. It was true. You're really good at hiding things. You know so much. Qin Guang laughed. Stop playing with it. If I drop it on the floor, I'll crush you to death. I'll be waiting to sell it tomorrow. Lin Jingwei put the things into the box and looked at Qin Guang as if he was looking at an idiot. F***ck. You're kidding. This is Bronte Comet's masterpiece that was personally delivered by his right hand. Do you know how high the value of this thing is? You haven't looked at it carefully, right? Other than Bronte Comet's signature, there are 2 miniature signatures on the back. It's Jean Shiyue's and Jiang Yage's artistic signatures. Qin Guang was shocked. He picked it up and looked at it under the light. There were really 2 small scribbles. The so-called artistic signature probably meant scribbles. Qin Guang didn't tell the fat boss about the watch's relationship with his left hand. The fat boss didn't recognize it and only recognized Bronte Comet's name. Lin Jingwei had seen the 2 women's artistic signatures, so he guessed it immediately. Qin Guang's heart hurt even more. Then tell me, how much is this watch worth? The highest price that the pawn shop in Wujing City offered me was 420,000 yuan. Forget it, don't tell me, or I'll be heartbroken. I can't tell others who gave this watch to me. It'll cause trouble. Lin Jingwei smiled sinisterly. I insist on saying it. If he took it to the auction house, filled in the certificate, and got the confirmation from his left and right hands, it was not impossible to sell it for 2 million. But obviously, you can't expose the direct relationship between this watch and your left and right hand. If you auction it as a work of Bronte Comet, I personally estimate that it can fetch about 1.5 million, but I'm afraid it won't be sold so soon. I'm afraid you can't wait. So if I were to sell it directly, I estimate that it would be around 1.2 million. After all, the original model was the one that cost 680,000 yuan. If it wasn't auctioned, it would be good if the price could be doubled. Qin Guang felt like he was suffocating. F***CKU. My heart is going to break. I'll help you sell it for 1.2 million. At this moment, Lin Jingwei suddenly threw out this sentence. Qin Guang was shocked. You can't be serious, right? Can you find a buyer? Does he trust what you say? By the way, you can't let others know about the relationship between this watch and your left and right hands. You have to remove the added value of your left and right hands. Lin Jingwei nodded seriously. Don't worry, I can really find someone to buy it. Disregarding the relationship between your left and right hands, this watch is really worth that much. Qin Guang clutched his heart. Motherf ***, the world of the rich is too scary. Don't be sad. I'll find someone tomorrow and buy 1.2 million for you. I know your family is short of money recently. We're brothers, so I'll definitely help you if I can. It's just a pity that there's so much added value. Sigh, my heart hurts. Qin Guang nodded heavily. Added value is nothing. I know about the auction house. By the time I sell it and get the money back, my mother's things will be too late. It's 1.2 million. One must know how to be content. After this period, I'll be strong without any desires. Thanks. Lin Jingwei chuckled. Brother, why are you saying this? I'm just helping you sell something. It's not like they're losing money, and they're earning so much added value for nothing. Even if it's hidden and invisible, it's still there. Lying on the bed, Qin Guang suppressed his ecstasy and took out his phone. It had been a long time since he last played with his phone before going to bed. The book that he had been following should be on the shelves by now, right? He opened it and it was indeed so. From what he wrote in his acceptance speech, it was a pitiful little B** starred. There were only a few hundred subscriptions. This author's family probably couldn't even afford to eat. After reading all the new chapters in one breath, Chen Guang nodded silently. Although this B** starred was a big liar as usual, it was still interesting. I've just made a fortune, and seeing how pitiful you are, I'll reward you with $100. Then, Chen Guang threw his phone aside and planned to sleep. He didn't want to wait for that B** starred to come and lick his boots. He hid his achievements and fame, silently acting cool and proud. At this moment, a text message notification rang. Who would send me a text message in the middle of the night? Chen Guang frowned slightly. It was probably my forever best friend 10,086 again. Owed money? I'm a noble postpaid customer, all right. How could I owe money? I still have to pay the phone bill in 2 days. Just as he was hesitating to reach for his phone, the second text message notification rang. With my many years of experience, it must be Jiang Yage or Jin Shiyue who sent you a text. You better take a look, Lin Jingwei, who was lying on the opposite bunk playing parkour every day, said. Chen Guang spat, nonsense. Do you think celebrities are as free as you? He didn't believe it. He picked up his phone and took a look. Lin Jingwei, this B** starred, had guessed correctly. It was indeed a text message from Jin Shiyue. And it wasn't just her. The second message was from Jiang Yage. Is it true? Lin Jingwei's gossipy heart was burning. Chen Guang only snorted, "Get lost, you decadent mobile gamer." As he scolded, Chen Guang looked at their text messages. Brother Chen Guang, are you asleep? I'm sorry to disturb your sleep. I've troubled you today, but I'm really having fun. Will you still play with us in the future? This is my WeChat ID. Add me. It was a text message from Jin Shiyue. Chen Guang smiled faintly. Jin Shiyue was really polite. The second message was from Jiang Yage. What would she say? He had a bad feeling about it. Why don't I just not look at it? In the end, he couldn't control himself. After all, she was the great Jiang Yage. She took the trouble to send him a text message in the middle of the night, and he didn't even look at it. Wasn't that too arrogant? About 5 seconds after opening the text message, Chen Guang regretted it. What did I just see? This woman is crazy. It was a picture of Jiang Yage. It looked like she had taken a selfie in front of the mirror. In the picture, she seemed to have just finished working out. She was wearing a tight black tank top and light blue sports pants. She was smiling brightly. Her face was still red from the strenuous exercise. She made a perfect V sign with her hand in front of the mirror. The picture looked sloppy and ordinary. It was no different from the selfies that other celebrities often posted online. There wasn't any extra benefit. Alright, that wasn't important. What was important was that next to the picture, the woman had used her poor Photoshop skills to Photoshop the following words. The hot celebrity has a good figure. Her body is soft and easy to push down. For the whole night, it's only 8. If you need, please add me on WeChat XXXX. Under the picture, there's a line of text. This is really my WeChat ID. Chen Guang nearly crushed his phone to smithereens. What the fuck? You're so wild. Your tricks are so deep, and your thinking is too broad. He quickly typed 3 words on his phone. Crazy. After thinking about it, he held back and didn't send it out. Chapter 200. Forget it. After all, he had just taken a valuable Patek Philippe, and now he had to sell his well-intentioned gift. It was still a little shameful. Opening WeChat, he sent friend requests to each of them, and then Chen Guang decisively closed WeChat. He was about to go to bed. If he kept chatting with them, who knew how long it would take? Alas, since he had found his phone again, he might as well check Weibo. Opening Weibo, he suddenly decided to follow Jin Shiyue and Jiang Ye's Weibo accounts, and then suffered a heavy blow. Jin Shiyue had more than 57 million Weibo fans, and Jiang Ye had more than 64 million. It seemed that Jiang Ye was more interested in managing her Weibo. She often updated her Weibo with interesting content. The original version of the photo she sent to Chen Guang just now was posted on her Weibo. It was updated about half an hour ago. Of course, it didn't contain the bullshit of 8 for a night. She added another sentence: "Today, I secretly brought my bodyguards to Wujing Disneyland to play and was discovered. Luckily, no one got hurt. Thank God, everyone, please be more calm in the future and pay attention to protect yourselves. I was discovered as soon as I arrived at the amusement park. It's a pity that I didn't have a good time. I practiced dancing hard all day and sweated profusely. I feel that I've lost a lot of weight. Everyone, do you think I've lost weight?" He. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. "You can deceive those poor fans who don't know the truth." "No, I must expose her." He decisively replied to a comment below. "Just arrived." "That's right. I was discovered just 3 hours after arriving at Disneyland. What a close shave. Liar. Lazy bum. May you get fatter and fatter." After replying to the comment, Chen Guang decisively quit. He really couldn't stand the pile of replies below. "Goddess, moi. Goddess full, highest. Goddess is the most beautiful. My age is so beautiful. Like me if you agree. It's too mushy, too sour, too blind." In the old man's humble opinion, Jiang Ye is really a goddess, a neurotic. Returning to his homepage, he felt a sense of loneliness, like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. I have 9 fans. I don't know 5 of them. The other 3 are my 3 grandsons and 1 is Sun Xiaoxuan. The number of views for the week, 5, it was Friday, so it was very likely that Sun Xiaoxuan had done it all by himself. Number of replies this week, 1, it was Sun Xiaoxuan's reply. Level 4 for sure. I won't fail any of my final exams. She replied to Chen Guang's most recent Weibo post, which was also posted 3 months ago. The content was as follows: "The internet's life is long, but my will is indomitable. Chen Guang will never fall." Endless desolation shrouded his heart. Why was the gap between people so big? Those two had tens of millions of fans at every turn. There was no way they could be friends. That's right, if these two people randomly reposted an advertisement on their Weibo, the advertising fee would be at least a few $100,000. Damn it, comparing oneself to others is infuriating. How about I let them casually repost one of my Weibo posts? Then I'll become a big V in minutes. From then on, I'll walk the road of being popular on Weibo. The logic is still the same, but isn't this too shameless? Forget it, I'll bear with it for now. This is the ultimate killer move, and I can't use it easily. In addition, people might guess my relationship with them because of this. If I'm targeted by the paparazzi, there's no way to make up for it. Of course, would I be able to come up with some original and fun content later? The kind that can make people giggle the whole time, and then let those two people repost it and add a note. This is really fun, ha ha ha. Everyone, go and see it, ha ha ha. The other person added another note. I also saw it. It's really fun, ha ha ha. That's right, I definitely won't be suspected. I already have the ultimate skill of turning over a new leaf. My life is stable. I'll throw away my phone and go to sleep. Chen Guang did not know that in a 5-star hotel in Wujing City, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Ye, who were used to squeezing on the same bed, were sleeping in separate rooms, which was rare. They were lying in 2 different rooms in the same suite, curled up in the quilt alone, holding their phones in their hands. In the pitch-black room, there were only two pairs of beautiful eyes staring at their phones without blinking. Jiang Yage replied to Chen Guang with a smiley face, and then entered a sweet dream. Jin Shiyue hesitated for a long time, then sighed softly and replied, "Good night." They were actually countless times busier than Chen Guang, so how could they have the time to chat with him in the middle of the night? The next day, Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei woke up early in the morning and drove straight to a cafe in the city. Sure enough, a young man in a white suit came, and he seemed to be very familiar with Lin Jingwei. This man was very straightforward. He did not even carefully check the authenticity of the thing. After a simple chat, he put the watch in his pocket and transferred 1.2 million yuan to Chen Guang's PayPal account on the spot. Until this man left, Chen Guang's mind was in a mess. He hid his phone under the table, glanced at the numbers on it, and carefully counted the number of zeros on it. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he began to laugh foolishly. He suddenly came back to his senses, and quickly hid his phone nervously. After a while, he took it out again, looked at it, and continued to laugh foolishly. Then, he hid his phone like he was guarding against a thief. Lin Jingwei was speechless. If you really don't feel at ease, hurry up and find a bank card to transfer the money. I'm afraid you're going to have a nervous breakdown if you continue like this. Chen Guang nodded repeatedly. That's right. He quickly transferred the money to his own bank card. He did not directly transfer it to his dad because he was afraid that the old man would suddenly throw such a huge sum of money at him and give him a heart attack. He would find a chance later to euphemistically and carefully explain it to him. But, based on your mom's situation, this money may seem like a lot, but I'll say something unpleasant. It's still not enough to spend, Lin Jingwei suddenly said. Chen Guang felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head. He pinched his fingers and did some calculations. It was not wrong. The cost before and after the surgery was not low. For the time being, he would consider 600,000 yuan. Now that his mom was living in a special ward that ordinary people could not enter, the basic monthly expenses would be at least a few tens of thousands. Anyway, up until now, the 300,000 yuan in his dad's card had been reduced to 50,000 yuan. Apart from that, after the surgery, there would be a long recovery period, which was another huge sum of money. After the recovery period, she would have to continue taking the immunity suppressant. The expenses were like the Yellow River, rolling eastward and unable to stop. Perhaps, by this time next year, the 1.2 million yuan would basically be nothing more than a drizzle. Brother, you're tired. Lin Jingwei patted his shoulder heavily. Chen Guang picked up the cup in front of him and looked at the heavenly Holy Grail. He immediately smiled. What's there to be afraid of? Earning money is as easy as eating and drinking. He began to have ideas about the driving god training class again. He was thinking about when he should contact Zhong Baikai for the second session. After letting Lin Jingwei go back to school alone, Chen Guang drove straight to the hospital. He wanted to tell his dad the good news as soon as possible. Your son is going to be rich. Chapter 201. When Chen Guang arrived at his mother's ward, Tang Ying was just walking out. Thank you, little Tang, for taking so much trouble for us, Chen Guoli said with a smile as he walked Tang Ying out. These days, Chen Guoli was more and more impressed by Dr. Tang's medical skills. Even though Professor Liu was a well-known expert, Professor Liu was very busy. Even though he had the title of Chief Physician Feng Rong, he only came to visit twice a day. When Chen Guoli went to look for him, he was usually not around. On the other hand, even though Tang Ying had many other patients, she was exceptionally attentive to Feng Rong. Not only did she fulfill her duties as a doctor, but she would sometimes come over to chat with Feng Rong before she got off work. She would often chat with her for half an hour. In addition, Tang Ying's medical skills weren't bad, and her analysis of the patient's condition was clear and organized. Chen Guoli often saw her communicating with the family members of the patients she was responsible for, and they were all convinced by her. Therefore, he liked Dr. Tang even more. As Tang Ying walked out, she turned around and said to Qinguli with a smile, "Uncle Qin, you're too kind. I'm friends with Qin Guang, and I'm also Auntie Feng's doctor. It's my duty, my duty." When Qinguli heard this, he said, "Qin Guang, that kid, how dare he question your medical skills? I'll teach him a lesson later. How can he treat his friends like that? Dr. Tang, I'll definitely help you." "Oh, he, Uncle Qin, you're too kind. Don't beat him too hard, after all, he's still taking his final exam." Tang Ying's face was full of smiles as she walked out triumphantly. "You're right, then I'll beat him up after the exam." Qin Guang, who had been standing by the door and listening to their conversation, was speechless. This Tang Ying was not someone to be trifled with. How long had it been? Not only did she tease him every time, she even tried to sow discord with his father. What did she mean by "don't beat him too hard"? Speaking of which, when did my relationship with her become this good? Why didn't I notice it myself? As soon as Tang Ying turned around the corner, he immediately saw Qin Guang standing beside him with a dark face. Not only did he not feel guilty, he even raised his eyebrows and showed a provocative expression. Then, he took small, light steps and swayed his hips as he walked away. Qin Guang covered his face with his hands. He felt that this woman had something on him that could be used against him. He strode into the intensive care unit, and before he turned the corner, he heard Qinguli and Feng Rong chatting. "Old Qin, do you think Dr. Little Tang is interested in our little Guang? She's so enthusiastic that I'm a little embarrassed," Feng Rong said. Qinguli coughed. "My dear wife, don't make wild guesses." It seemed that Dr. Little Tang and Little Guang had known each other for a long time and were true friends. Well, it's not bad if she's really interested in him. Although Dr. Little Tang is a few years older than Little Guang, doctors seem to be quite good at taking care of their health. When Little Guang is 24, Dr. Little Tang will only be 30 and can have at least 2 more children. Dr. Little Tang's medical skills are high, she's diligent, educated, and has a good personality. She's really made for a good wife. It's just that being a doctor is a little tiring, but it's young people's business, so let them be. Listening to Qinguli's words, Qin Guang's scalp tingled with goosebumps when his father called him his dear wife, and then he was embarrassed by the latter half of his sentence. He rushed out. "What nonsense are you talking about?" The 2 elders were startled by Qin Guang's sudden appearance. Qinguli waved his hands. No, I didn't say anything." It was clear that his father's shamelessness was superior to Qin Guang's, and his ability to lie through his teeth was top-notch. Qin Guang knew that once he started acting shamelessly, he would never admit to what he just said, and there was nothing he could do about it. Qin Guang sat down and chatted with his parents again, especially looking at the new checkup reports that came out recently. He saw that there were fewer plus and minus signs, and all the indicators were improving, and he was relieved. He found an opportunity to call Qinguli upstairs again, and Qin Guang planned to transfer money to him. "If you have something to say, hurry up and say it. Your mom opened the Langya board again when we just left the house, and I'll miss a lot of time again if she drags on," Qinguli said anxiously. Qin Guang was defeated, and he took a deep breath. "Dad, I have something to tell you, and it's very important." Seeing that he was serious, Qinguli knew that it was something important, and he did not rush him. He nodded. "Okay, I'm listening. Promise me that you won't be too emotional after you hear it, and you have to calm down first. It's probably related to the watch that Jiang Yage wanted to give me. I got the watch and sold it, and I got the money." Qin Guang swallowed his saliva and said carefully. Qinguli waved his hand nonchalantly. "Hey, seeing how serious you are, I thought it was something important, but it's just a small matter. Didn't you say it once? As long as I got the money, it's fine. I'll ask your uncle to cancel the contract with the other party later." "Damn. So you're still planning to sell your house?" Qin Guang spat. Guoli smiled embarrassedly. I'm just trying to be safe. The transplant is so important, and I'm afraid that something might go wrong. Tell me, how much did you sell it for? I've been in the business for most of my life, and I'm very knowledgeable. How much money have I not seen? Didn't you already give me a heads up? Tell me. Guang felt that Su Tao's father was right. After all, back then, the hot pot restaurant could earn tens of thousands of profit in a month, and it could even reach hundreds of thousands during peak seasons. His father was someone who had seen the world. 1,200,000 yen. Dad. Dad. Wake up, Dad. Less than 5 seconds after Guang said that, Guoli's eyes rolled back, and he fell on his back without any hesitation. Guang shouted as he hugged his father and pinched his philtrum a few times. This businessman who had boasted about his big heart just now slowly woke up. He opened his eyes in a daze and looked at Guang. What did you say? How much did you say just now? Guang answered subconsciously, 1.2 million. Guoli's head tilted, and he fainted again. Half an hour later, Guang looked at his father with disdain. He, a businessman. This is the legendary businessman who has been in the business for most of his life. You're really knowledgeable. Guoli's face was red. It was too embarrassing. You can't blame me for this. Didn't you say it was 400,000 to 500,000 at the start? It's suddenly increased by so many times, and we've been poor for so long. We can't get used to it in a short time. This is too sudden. Guang spat at him. All right. I'll transfer the money to you. After Guang had transferred the money, Guoli said faintly, a big star is a big star indeed. She's really willing to pay so much to keep a pretty boy as a mistress. The first thing she did was something so valuable. It's like she's treating money like it's nothing. Guang retorted, Pfft, you pretty boy. How can you talk about your son like that? Besides, this is them thanking me for saving their lives. It's not a mistress fee. Guoli looked like he understood. Explaining is equivalent to covering up. Don't quibble. As for the overnight fee, I understand. But then again, you earn so much by ringing the bell. The workload must be quite heavy, right? I want to cut ties with you again. Don't. I'm not joking with you. You may be young now, but men and women are different in this aspect. If you overwork at a young age, it'll be easy for you to feel weak in the future. I'm doing this for your own good, really. It's said that you get what you pay for. If you hadn't worked so hard, would they have offered you such a price? He really lost to him. Guang covered his face and retreated, not daring to return to the ward. He really regretted lying to his father that he was Jiang Ye's mistress. Was it a huge mistake? I've lost. I lost because I didn't see your bottom line clearly. However, the words had already been said. No matter how much his father cheated him, he could only grit his teeth and admit defeat. After Guang left, Guoli accompanied Feng Rong to watch television in the ward. However, he still felt uneasy and full of thoughts. Feng Rong was annoyed by his behavior. She glared at him and said, "Can't you just watch television?" Guoli sighed as if he had made up his mind. He stood up abruptly and said, "You watch it yourself, I'm going to ask Dr. Tang something." After walking out of the ward, Guoli sighed again and said to himself, "This kid doesn't know how to behave. He really thinks I'm joking with him. No, as a father, I have to think about my son's future. His expenses are too high, 1.2 million yuan for the night. That's too much work. Celebrities nowadays are scary. His body needs to be healed, he really needs to be healed. Otherwise, it'll be a big problem in the future." Then the problem was, how was he going to make it up? He decided to ask Tang Ying about this. It wasn't that he was shameless, but he couldn't ask Professor Lu, who was a respected old man. After thinking about it, since Tang Ying and Chen Guang were friends, and he was half of Chen Guang's elder, and she was also an outstanding doctor, it wasn't inappropriate to ask her. Patients couldn't hide their illness for fear of treatment. This was embarrassing, but if he didn't tell the doctor, he wouldn't die of illness. He was in the hospital, and Dr. Tang was a nice person. If he didn't ask her, he couldn't ask her, right? Of course, he could find a random relative to take the blame. There was no need to let her know that it was Chen Guang who wanted it. Chapter 202. The next day, Chen Guang received a call from his father, asking him to go to the hospital. He had to go no matter what, as if it was something very important. When he asked his father, he only said that his mother's mood suddenly became unstable and wanted him to come over and chat with her. Chen Guang quickly rushed out of the study room and drove straight to the city hospital. Auntie was the most important thing in the world. When he reached the hospital, his mother was fine, but she questioned why he went to the hospital again. Chen Guang angrily pulled Chen Guoli out of the ward. "Dad, what are you doing?" "I'm studying for the exam." Chen Guoli patted his shoulder. "She was a little emotional just now, but she's fine now. She misses you, but she won't let me call you. Now that you're here, she won't admit it." "Forget it. Then I'll go back." Chen Guoli hurriedly grabbed him and pulled out a lunchbox from behind. "Wait, you've been so busy lately. The food at school isn't good. Since I had nothing to do last night, I made you a big soup. Take it home and eat it." Chen Guang always felt that his father's behavior was not right. He had grown up for so many years, but when had he ever made soup for him? "Why are you looking at me like that? Don't tell me that I, your father, would poison you." Chen Guoli had a guilty conscience in his heart, but he still put on a fierce expression and glared fiercely. Chen Guang quickly took the lunchbox. Okay. Go back. I'll take it home and eat it, okay?" Chen Guoli was happy. He turned around and walked 2 steps, then turned back and said, "This is your father's painstaking effort. Don't share it with others. Eat it alone." After that, Chen Guoli closed the ward door and clenched his fist. "Done. Sneaky." Chen Guang made a face and planned to go back to school. "Isn't this a waste of my time?" Passing by Tang Ying's office, Chen Guang saw her walking out in casual clothes with a big bag on her back. Chen Guang, who was already experienced in this, grinned and greeted her. "Yo, are you coming home from work?" Tang Ying looked up and saw that it was him. She was amused. "What? You want to see me off?" Chen Guang grinned. "If Dr. Tang needs it, I'll do it." Since they were already familiar with each other, Tang Ying did not stand on ceremony with him. As usual, he tossed the big bag on his back. Chen Guang caught it with one hand and passed the lunchbox to Tang Ying with his right hand. "Help me carry this. Your bag sure is heavy." Looking at the lunchbox in Chen Guang's hand, Tang Ying was stunned for a moment before she took it. Chen Guang put his bag on his back. "Give me the lunchbox." Tang Ying had already walked forward. "You're already carrying such a heavy bag for me. How can I let you carry the lunchbox yourself? What's inside? What's delicious? Did your dad ask you to bring it back to school?" Chen Guang curled his lips indifferently. "My dad said he made soup for me yesterday." What else could it be? Oh. Tang Ying didn't say anything else. Yesterday, Chen Guoli came to her shyly and only told her that he had a relative who was in trouble. That relative heard him boasting about how great his medical skills were as a returned doctor, so he begged him to see if he could get a prescription from him no matter what. It didn't matter if it was a traditional Chinese medicine prescription or a diet method, as long as it could nourish yang and nourish the kidney. At that time, Tang Ying thought it was funny. She didn't study traditional Chinese medicine, so she wanted to refuse. However, when she saw Chen Guoli's face turning red with embarrassment, she told Chen Guoli about a diet method that her mother had copied from the internet some time ago, which was said to be very useful. It was probably called rejuvenating soup or something, and she managed to convince him. This rejuvenating soup could be called a traditional Chinese medicine prescription, or a diet method. There were precious Chinese medicinal materials like desert sistanch, cheap medicinal plants like dodder, and high-nutrition food like huayam. The others were walnut kernels, round-grained rice, and other seasonings. The main ingredients were lean mutton and lamb spine. This kind of prescription might not necessarily be useful, but it was also not accurate to say that it was completely useless. People had different physiques. Some people had tried this kind of diet method and the effect was incredible, but there were also people who didn't have any effect at all. It just varied from person to person. Tang Ying had told this to Chen Guoli and then left it at the back of her mind. After all, she was the attending physician of more than 10 patients, and she was busy all day long. She didn't have the time to remember so many things in her mind. Now that she got off work and met Chen Guang on her way home, she could finally relax. Holding the lunchbox in her hand, her mind became active. On the way home, she finally couldn't help raising the lunchbox a little higher without batting an eyelid. She put her nose close to the lid and sniffed hard. She suddenly understood. Then, she looked at the back of Chen Guang in front of her with a strange look in her eyes. Poor parents. Chen Guoli's extremely embarrassed look yesterday came to her mind again. It turned out that the so-called relative he couldn't refuse was Chen Guang. That's right. Perhaps only for his own son would an old man like Chen Guoli not care about his reputation and ask her that kind of question. But Chen Guang was even more pitiful. He was young and should be at the age where he was full of vigor and vitality. How could he have a problem in this aspect? Then, she thought of Chen Guang's words and actions when she was sent home for the first time. Combined with today's lunchbox that was filled with the smell of sheep's blood, Tang Ying understood everything. No wonder he could be so calm and composed when he was drunk. Admittedly, his personal character was very noble, but there must be a reason in this aspect. He was just a young and inexperienced student. I was completely drunk and unconscious, but he didn't take advantage of me at all. When I woke up, his attitude towards me was so bad. I thought I became ugly after coming back to China, but it turned out that he had a problem first. Pitiful, sad, lamentable. Chen Guang walked in front. Suddenly, he felt a strong itch on his back. He turned around and saw Tang Ying looking at him with a strange expression. Her eyes were unfocused, as if she was daydreaming. What's wrong with you? You should rest your brain for a bit after work. Don't think about work for now. Tang Ying snapped back to reality and forced a smile. When she looked at Chen Guang's bright smile, she felt a pain in her heart. Sigh, what a pitiful boy. What a tough life. You are strong. Your mother is sick and you have a problem with your body. But you still smile at life and shoulder the burden of the family. No matter how hard and tired you are, I never see you show the slightest bit of sadness. But you always care about others and hide your own pain in your heart. You are my friend. You saved me from the hands of 2 hooligans. I owe you a great favor. Although I treated your mother, it was my duty. I am both a doctor and your friend. Since I know you have this problem, I can't ignore it. I can't let you go on like this. I have to help you. Otherwise, my conscience won't be at peace. Chapter 203. Tang Ying thought to herself, if it's a middle-aged or elderly person, diet therapy or Chinese medicine may be effective. But for a young man like Chen Guang, who's only in his 20s, to fail, there must be a serious problem with his physiological function or one of his organs. Indeed, I can only use Western medicine to solve this problem. When we arrive at Guanghua Street, I'll let him come to my house and have an open talk with him. If it doesn't work, I'll arrange for him to have a checkup, hospitalization, and surgery. Tang Ying was relieved after making up her mind. As the youngest genius doctor in Moorlands Medical College in the past 20 years, She was a top expert in nephrology. Since Chen Guang didn't seem to have any problems in other aspects, Tang Ying was confident that she could completely cure him. She quickened her pace to Chen Guang's side and looked at him with a smile, which made Chen Guang's hair stand on end. She said, "Do you believe in my medical skills now?" Chen Guang covered his face. "I believe you, I believe you. I completely believe you. Sis, it was my fault for doubting you before. I apologize. I'm sorry, please let me go." "How many times have you said it?" Tang Ying raised her eyebrows. "It's good that you believe me. Don't hide things in your heart. We're friends, right?" Chen Guang nodded. He really felt that Tang Ying was a good person, a good doctor, and a responsible and enthusiastic person. "Of course we are." Tang Ying grinned and patted Chen Guang's shoulder again. "It's good that you think so too. I won't stand by and watch my friends suffer. I'll help you. In the name of the best doctor in Moreland's Medical College. My academic achievements in nephrology may not be among the best in the world, but they're definitely not bad. 2 years ago, I even won the American Medical Gold Medal for a paper related to nephrology. It's an award with great influence around the world. I have a high chance of curing your condition." Chen Guang thought she was talking about his mother's illness. Although he didn't understand why she specifically emphasized this matter to him, he thought she might be trying to make him feel better. He was excited and couldn't control his emotions. He suddenly raised his hands to grab Tang Ying's shoulders and said heavily, "Thank you. It's great to meet you." Tang Ying was taken aback by Chen Guang's sudden attack, but she quickly calmed down. Sure enough, no young man would be able to remain calm after having that kind of problem. Since he was so happy, it meant that he was willing to cooperate with the treatment, which made things easier. What she was afraid of was that he was hiding his illness for fear of treatment. When Chen Guang dropped Tang Ying off at Guanghua Street Section 3 and was about to pull over to wait for her to get out, Tang Ying said, "Don't park outside, go to my neighborhood. Come to my house, I want to have a good chat with you." On the other hand, Chen Guang was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to discuss his mother's condition with Tang Ying. How could other patients' family members interact with a chief physician like this? Doctors were humans too, and they had to work. They only had so much time and energy every day, and they were not the only patients they were responsible for. They had to think about so many patients' conditions at the same time, and they couldn't afford to make any mistakes. How could they treat him like Tang Ying? "You live in such a big house all by yourself?" Chen Guang said to Tang Ying as he tossed his backpack onto the sofa. Tang Ying's house was located in a high-end neighborhood on Guanghua Street Section 3. It was indeed very big. Upon entering the house, there was a spacious living room that was 10 meters in length. Looking around, the floor area was at least 150 square meters. Next to the living room, there was a huge floor-to-ceiling glass that was nearly 7 meters tall, which clearly told Chen Guang that this house was a duplex. The room was very tidy, and the bright sunlight shone in through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. The lighting of the whole house couldn't be any better. As for this large duplex facing south, Chen Guang roughly calculated in his heart. My goodness, just based on this location and the subway station next to it, this house with a total area of nearly 300 square meters would cost at least 5 or 6 million. What a rich woman. Golden thighs. Can I give you a hug? Tang Ying poured a glass of water for Chen Guang indifferently. Yeah, I also feel that this house is too big. Luckily, I'm a medical student, so I'm not afraid of ghosts. Otherwise, I would have been scared to death sleeping alone in this big, empty house every day. How did you know I live alone? Chen Guang chuckled. There's only one style of shoes on the shoe rack. You're quite observant. Tang Ying rolled her eyes at him and sat down beside him. Chen Guang took out his own glass and poured the water Tang Ying poured into his own. Tang Ying looked at him curiously. I didn't expect you to be so particular. You always bring your own glass with you wherever you go. This is a good habit for hygiene. Chen Guang laughed. It's not that I'm particular. It's just that I have a weird habit when it comes to drinking water. I like the taste of this Biluakun tea. Tang Ying stood up and took a square box from the bookshelf. She threw it in front of Chen Guang. I didn't expect you to like tea at such a young age. I have a box of Thai guanyin from the patient's family. It seems pretty good. But I don't like tea. I'll leave it here for the rest of my life. You can have it. Thai guanyin. Chen Guang suddenly recalled the time when he was sharpening pencils. He slammed his head on the steel-like tea leaves. His face hurt. He wanted to refuse, but he looked at the brands silently. Oh, I know this brand. It's worth nearly 10,000 yuan. Thanks. Old Master Guang was so straightforward. As the two of them sat down and chatted for a long time, Chen Guang started to feel baffled. Why was she talking about something else and not the main topic? Didn't she call me over to talk about my mother's condition? What was her motive? Showing off? That's possible. Just for this box of Thai guanyin, I'll give her 32 likes for showing off. Tang Ying was also having a headache. Although she was a doctor, she had taken off her white coat. Moreover, she was in her own home. The smell was a little off. She was not as professional as she was in the office. She felt a little reserved. When it came to that kind of thing, she was a little thin-skinned and could not take the initiative to ask. But Chen Guang was also talking about other things. Tang Ying thought to herself, I've hinted so clearly just now. He seems to understand, but why doesn't he take the initiative to ask? He's still a child after all. He's thin-skinned and is hiding his illness for fear of treatment. What should I do? I can't let him get away with it at this time, right? Tang Ying looked around and saw the lunchbox on the coffee table. She had an idea. She pretended not to know the inside story and said, It's almost 6:00. Why don't you have dinner before leaving? The soup in your lunchbox smells good. Do you mind sharing it with me? I want to eat your rejuvenation soup. I don't believe you won't be anxious. She actually invited me to dinner. Is it because I'm too handsome that she has fallen for me? That's possible. After all, she's really rich. Okay. Chen Guang readily agreed. As for his father's instructions, he had long forgotten. Tang Ying was dumbfounded. His reaction was not right. Chapter 204. Tang Ying couldn't hold it in any longer. You're giving me the rejuvenating soup too? Chen Guang was puzzled. Rejuvenating soup? What's that? Isn't this my dad's soup? Since it's meant to be eaten, what's the difference between one person and two people? Tang Ying asked curiously, You really don't know what the rejuvenating soup is for? As she spoke, she gently opened the lunchbox, afraid that a drop of soup would spill out. She opened it and saw that it was indeed the same thing: lamb spine, lean lamb, Chinese yam, walnut meat, etc. She said, Your dad came looking for me yesterday, and I gave him the formula for the rejuvenating soup. Chen Guang had a bad feeling about this. Can you tell me what this rejuvenating soup is for? Tang Ying was infuriated by his stubbornness. I've already flipped the table, and you still won't admit it? What the hell is this? She slammed the coffee table and said loudly, It's for strengthening the kidneys. Don't pretend. I know all about it. It's hard for young people to talk about it, but you can't refuse medical treatment just because of this. You have to be responsible for your future. Hiss hiss hiss. Chen Guang sucked in a breath of cold air. My dad. Your son is really screwed over by you this time. Oh my God. Look at her expression. What's she thinking? Why would Chen Guoli ask for the formula? Chen Guang could roughly guess. He really felt that he had worked so hard every day to get that 2 million yuan watch. And then there was this box of soup. But you should have told me in advance. Are you afraid that I won't eat it after knowing the truth? Fine, I really won't eat it. But this is the formula you asked for from Tang Ying, and now I'm sitting in her house with this box. Look at her expression. Damn. Does she really think that I have a problem in that area? I won't be able to clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River. Admit it, right? Although this phenomenon is rare among young people, it's not completely unprecedented. Although I've never met a patient like this before, I'm really confident. The earlier you get treatment, the earlier you recover, the earlier you regain your manhood. Why are you hiding your illness for fear of treatment? Do you really want to be useless for the rest of your life? As Tang Ying spoke, she inched her face closer and closer. She wanted to use this kind of domineering attitude to break through the fragile defenses of the patient, Chen Guang. Chen Guang took a few steps back. I really don't know how to explain this. Could I tell her that I told Dad that I was Jiang Ye's sugar baby, and that Dad was afraid that I would be overworked, so he asked for the prescription? Can I even say that out loud? What else could he say? My heart felt stifled. With my life experience, I really didn't know how to explain why a father would prepare a box of recovery soup for his 20-something-year-old son. Help me. The god of adaptability. Chen Guang's prayer was useless. Tang Ying saw that she had subdued him, so she didn't force him anymore. Instead, she took a few steps back. All right, stop stuttering. Since you're a patient, you should explain your condition properly. Chen Guang clutched his head. What are you thinking? It's really not like that. Tang Ying rolled her eyes at him and stood up abruptly. She stood in front of him. Lift your head. Open your eyes wide. Look at me. Chen Guang followed her instructions and lifted his head to look at her. I'm a doctor. I'm not trying to brag, but I'm definitely the most talented doctor you know. From now on, don't treat me as Tang Ying. Don't treat me as your friend. I'm your Dr. Tang. Do you hear me? Tang Ying placed her hands on her hips and said domineeringly. She looked like she was going to eat him up. Otherwise, I'll just bluff my way through and let her think whatever she wants. Otherwise, I won't be able to come here today. He nodded his head with difficulty. All right, doctor. Dr. Tang. Tang Ying laughed. As she spoke, her eyes drifted to Chen Guang's crotch. That's right. Tell me, roughly how old were you when you couldn't get a hard-on? Pfft, this is the 7th floor. If I take a leap of faith from here, I'll definitely be able to ascend to heaven, right? If I want to die, don't ask me why. No, I really can't stay here any longer. Chen Guang got up. He couldn't care less about Tai Guanyin and the lunchbox anymore. He only grabbed the heavenly holy grail and wanted to run away. Humph. You want to leave? Tang Ying glared at him angrily. She opened her arms and blocked his way. Stop right there. This doctor has already made things clear today. Don't even think of running away. Tell me clearly about your condition. Come and register yourself tomorrow. I'll arrange a checkup for you. Big sis. Please let me go. I really can't explain it clearly. But it's really not what you think. I can do it. Chen Guang looked like he was about to cry. He really couldn't explain it clearly. Tang Ying pushed him hard, causing him to fall back onto the sofa. She pounced on him. You're still so stubborn. I'll make you reveal your true colors today. I'm a doctor. You're a patient. How dare you hide your illness in front of me? Before she finished her sentence, Tang Ying had already made up her mind. In order to make Chen Guang reveal his true colors, she finally used her ultimate move, Flying Dragon Cloud Palm. She pinched him through his pants. Chen Guang was completely dumbfounded. Why? Why are you so tough? How could he understand that Tang Ying, as a doctor, treated him as a friend? She also felt that she owed him a big favor and was worried about him. She also felt that doctors shouldn't care about their patients, and she was anxious and impatient. That was why she finally came up with this plan. Tang Ying saw that he finally stopped struggling. Although she was also extremely embarrassed, she clenched her teeth and pressed her body forward. With Chen Guang on the bottom and her body on top, she exerted more force on her fingers. This guy's bad thing, although he had that kind of problem, seemed to be much bigger than the autopsies she had seen in school. At this moment, this thought popped into Tang Ying's mind. Completely dumbfounded, Chen Guang didn't know how to describe his current state. All he knew was that he was being pinned down by Tang Ying. Although she did not completely press her body down, her awkward position caused her to completely crawl in front of him. She forced herself to raise her head to look, but her shameless gaze was fiercely drilling into her collar in front of her. The two of them were so close. Her crawling position caused her collar to be completely open. His gaze penetrated straight into her black lace bra. Sensing her heavy breathing just inches away from him, old Master Guang's willpower completely crumbled as Tang Ying tightened her grip. Duang. Tang Ying was about to expose Chen Guang's final layer of disguise by saying that he didn't have any reaction even when she was in this state, when she suddenly felt a strong force on her hand. Her hand seemed to have been pushed away by someone. What a strong force. She turned her head and looked down in a daze. Her hand was still grabbing onto something. Perhaps it was a snake previously, but now, it seemed like she was grabbing onto a flagpole. It was so high up. This time, not only was Chen Guang in a daze, Tang Ying wasn't any better either. What exactly went wrong? Sis. You. At this moment, a scream came from the entrance of the living room. Chen Guang and Tang Ying turned their heads in that direction in unison. They saw a handsome young man who looked similar to Tang Ying standing there, looking in their direction in horror. It was as if he had seen the end of the world. Little Kai. Things aren't what you think. This time, it was Tang Ying's turn to say the same thing. The sad thing was, even though her brain had completely gone off the rails, she still forgot to let go of her hand, making her quibble seem so unconvincing. Chapter 205. 5 minutes later, Tang Xiaokai barely managed to control his overly shocked emotions. This was too scary. His sister actually had a man. His sister, who only knew how to dissect a living person and tear a lab rat with her bare hands, actually had a man. What's more, he's doing such an improper thing in the living room in broad daylight. Tang Ying explained to him for a full 5 minutes, but Tang Xiaokai couldn't believe her excuses no matter what. Hee, you're patient? Hee, you want to treat him? He refused to admit it, so you resorted to such a method? Trying to force him to show his true colors? Do you think your little brother is only 3 years old? Your little brother is already 24 years old. Your little brother is no longer a naive little brother who doesn't know anything, alright? Although I definitely don't dare to let you know about this, don't treat me like a child. Chen Guang. Hurry up and help me explain. Tang Ying saw that she couldn't get through to him and felt a headache coming on. If she had seen this happen to someone else, she wouldn't have believed it herself. Up until now, Chen Guang had just retreated from the tent. No matter what she said, it wasn't convincing at all. Chen Guang's face was red as he stood in front of Tang Ying and Tang Xiaokai. He thought to himself, I'm also very hurt, I don't even know what happened, and you've already molested me like this. How do you want me to explain? Lord Guang, who had always prided himself on being experienced, asked guiltily. Tang Ying snorted, this is my biological little brother. Tell him that what he saw just now was me examining you, and I want to prove that you're a patient. Hee, this woman wants me to admit that I'm useless and our friendship is over. Do you believe me? My dragon raising its head is so mighty and domineering, do you think he's blind? Let's go. This time, Chen Guang remembered to pick up Tai Guanyin and wanted to leave. Unexpectedly, it was two people who stopped him this time. Tang Ying's face was red. She also felt that things were too deceptive, too strange, and her mind was still dizzy. Perhaps I made a mistake. Although he had problems in that area, he could still rise, but the time would be very short. That's right. That must be it. I got the wrong direction. Forget it, my brother is here today, so I can't talk about this anymore. I'll ask him in private next time. Tang Xiaokai, on the other hand, was sizing up his sister's man from head to toe, trying to figure out his identity. He was dressed in cheap casual clothes, and his family conditions were not very good. Forget it. Our family is not short of money anyway. If we have to find someone of the same age who is richer than our family to marry, based on her arrogance and her dislike of those rich young masters, she might be single for the rest of her life. But then again, isn't this Chen Guang a little too young? She looks a little younger than me. Although I'm almost as handsome and tall as you, how can you be younger than me? Of course, what this young master is most unhappy about is that my older sister actually got together with you without saying a word. As his younger brother, I'm not convinced. I don't recognize you now. I'm going to check for my sister. Bro, I've been here for so long that I forgot to introduce myself to you. Hello, I'm Tang Xiaokai, Tang Ying's younger brother, younger than my sister by 2 years. You're Chen Guang, right? Why don't you introduce yourself? Tang Xiaokai made up his mind, grinned, and took the initiative to shake hands with Chen Guang. Tang Ying, on the other hand, felt strange. This troublesome brother of his doesn't seem to be pestering about that matter anymore. On the other side, Chen Guang finally let out a sigh of relief. He wasn't afraid of the heavens or the earth, but he was afraid that Tang Xiaokai would pester him about that matter. After all, he was Tang Ying's younger brother, Tang Ying's family, so how could he explain this kind of thing? Slightly relieved, he extended his hand and shook hands with Tang Xiaokai. Hello, I'm Chen Guang, a family member of Tang Ying's patient, also a friend. Tang Xiaokai smacked his lips. Friend, not a bad friend. Pa. Tang Ying slapped Tang Xiaokai's face hard. Kid, I'm warning you, don't talk about my sister's matters again. Even if you tell Dad about this, I'll beat you to death. You become a boss, haven't you? You think I won't dare to beat you up? I'll fight you to the death. Tang Xiaokai hugged his head and shrunk to the side, feeling the pain from Tang Ying's slap. Seeing that he had finally angered Tang Ying, he was scared and immediately became quiet. Sis. I was wrong, sis. I won't talk about it anymore, I won't talk about it anymore. Tang Ying's slap made Tang Xiaokai recall the countless painful experiences he had since he was young. Cold sweat broke out on his back, thinking, sis, you can be fierce to me. I can't afford to mess with you, but can't I mess with little brother Chen Guang? Humph. You hit me. I'll take care of your man. The three of them argued for a while, and under Tang Xiaokai's suggestion, they decided to go out for dinner. On the way downstairs, they continued to ramble. Gradually, Chen Guang learned about Tang Xiaokai's background. This brother was 24 years old this year. Like Tang Ying, he spent most of his time living across the sea in the United States. However, Tang Ying chose to return to China to practice medicine, while he stayed in the United States to study at Harvard Business School and continue his father's business. Tang Ying was indeed a genius in the medical field, but this kid wasn't any worse than his sister. At such a young age, he was already in charge of several large companies, and even held a controlling stake in many of them. This kind of person was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Coupled with his talent, he left Chen Guang behind at the starting line of life by about 10 Wall Street. This time, he was also on vacation in China. He wanted to give Tang Ying a surprise, so he came without telling her in advance. He also had the key to the house, so he opened the door directly. He didn't expect to run into the two of them. As they chatted, Tang Xiaokai gradually added various English words into his Chinese, and in the end, it was all in English. Tang Ying spoke English fluently abroad, so she didn't notice the change. She habitually spoke English with Tang Xiaokai. Chen Guang heard something unexpected. Some users said that the Puss Corporation, which Tang Xiaokai controlled, had developed a special medicine for kidney failure. The effect on Asian people would weaken as the dosage of the medicine accumulated. He hoped that Tang Ying could give him a reference and make appropriate improvements to the special medicine for Asian people. Oh my God, this bastard is a major shareholder of the Puss Corporation. Tang Ying also participated in the development of the special medicine? Damn it. The old man's family contributed at least 200,000 yuan to your medical expenses. Evil capitalists, they are actually right next to me. I really want to strangle these two people to death. Walking to the parking lot, Tang Xiaokai finally spoke Chinese again. Why don't you take my car? I just borrowed a car from my buddy. He pointed to a Maserati CEO in the middle of the parking lot. Chen Guang shook his head. He planned to drive back to school after dinner. He didn't want to waste time. You guys take that car. I'll drive my own. Brother Chen Guang, what car do you want? Tang Xiaokai's eyes lit up. This cheap brother-in-law was so calm when he saw the Maserati CEO and said he wanted to drive his own car. Could it be that he was actually a relatively thrifty young master? That's not bad. This kind of person is suitable to live with my sister. Chen Guang pointed to his small broken Rena on the other side. Mine, Rena. Tang Xiaokai, then something that made Tang Xiaokai even more depressed happened. Tang Ying said, you drive your Maserati. I'll take Chen Guang's car. Oh my God. Sister. You want to live a poor life with your brother-in-law. Chapter 206. Tang Xiaokai reached out to pull Tang Ying. Sis. How can you even sit in this crappy car? At that moment, Chen Guang was enraged. Isn't this face-slapping a little too fierce? You're going to start a fight at the slightest disagreement. Tang Ying also looked at Tang Xiaokai strangely. She understood her brother's personality. He wasn't arrogant like those rich young masters. On the contrary, he knew how to deal with people. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been pushed to the position of the person in charge of so many companies at such a young age. What's wrong with him today? Does he really think that Chen Guang is my boyfriend? Alright, with the situation at that time, it was basically like yellow mud falling into the crotch of one's pants. Even if it wasn't that, it would still be that. But even if that's what you think, isn't your attitude a little too harsh? Fortunately, there's nothing between me and Chen Guang. If there really is that relationship, wouldn't I be pissed to death? Did you take the wrong medicine today or something? So what if I like to sit in crappy cars? Drive your Maserati and talk too much. Be careful, or I'll tear your mouth off. Tang Ying pushed Tang Xiaokai's hand away, turned around, and pulled Chen Guang towards Rena. Tang Xiaokai was taken aback by Tang Ying's reaction. It took him quite a while to come back to his senses before he crawled back into his car. How dare you say you're not my brother-in-law? You almost fell out with me because of him. Fine, you've already fallen out with me. Tang Xiaokai felt very wronged in his heart. I'm your biological brother. Even though you've always been fierce to me since we were young, it's mostly just a joke. I just want to help you this time. Is there a need for you to be like this? Tang Xiaokai angrily crawled into his car and took a few deep breaths. He already had an idea. He took out his phone, told Tang Ying where they were going to eat, and drove off. Sitting in Chen Guang's car, Tang Ying hesitated for a moment, then said to Chen Guang, "Don't get mad at my brother, he wasn't like this before. I don't know what's wrong with him recently, but he dares to give me looks the moment he's back in China. I'll get him to draw his blood later to see if he's too angry." Chen Guang just chuckled. To be honest, when Tang Xiaokai said that he was riding in a crappy car, he wasn't really hurt. What really made him feel stifled was when Tang Xiaokai said, "So what if I like to ride in a crappy car? You're the one with the god-tier last hit." Tang Xiaokai led the way, and it didn't take long for the 3 people and 2 cars to return to the city. When they arrived at the parking lot, the combination of the 2 cars was indeed fresh. The one leading the way was a Maserati, and the one following behind was a Hyundai Rena. When they entered the parking lot one after the other, the woman guarding the entrance felt that it was both fresh and strange. The 3 of them got out of the car, but Tang Xiaokai didn't rush to the restaurant. Instead, he looked around for a while, and suddenly said, "There's a business office over there that's not closed yet. I've just returned to China, and I forgot to charge my phone. Come with me to charge my phone." Tang Ying and Chen Guang didn't suspect anything. Chen Guang also thought that although he was a postpaid customer, it was about time to pay his phone. Since it was the right time, he might as well pay together. When the 3 of them arrived at the business office, the people there were about to close the door and get off work. "Please wait a moment, I need to pay my phone," Tang Xiaokai said loudly. The girl in the business office, who was about to lock the door, raised her head and glanced at Tang Xiaokai. Although she felt that this young man was quite handsome, he was still more charming when he was off work. She could only wave her hand apologetically. "Sorry, we're off work. Please use your phone to charge your phone." Tang Xiaokai smiled and gently flipped the tip of his hair. A black bank card popped out between his fingers. "I want to charge my phone for 20,000 yuan. Can't I? I can almost buy a second-hand domestic car with that amount." Tang Ying instantly understood what Tang Xiaokai wanted to do. She scolded him for being childish in her heart and turned to look at Chen Guang, afraid that he would be angry. Tang Ying thought that Chen Guang was a magnanimous person after all. He wouldn't be so petty, right? She turned her head. "Huh? Where's Chen Guang? You're already more than 10 meters away in the blink of an eye." Chen Guang gritted his teeth in anger. "Motherf asterisk cur, I can forgive you for complaining about my car just now, but I'll tolerate it since you're Tang Ying's younger brother. Motherf asterisk cur, you still haven't played enough, have you? You can charge 20,000 yuan just for charging your phone, right? You're rich, you're powerful. I'm not going to serve you anymore. Goodbye. Let me tell you, if it weren't for Tang Ying, I wouldn't care if you're Tang Xiaokai or Tang Dakai. I'd beat you up until your face is covered in peach blossoms." "Chen Guang, wait." Tang Ying hurriedly caught up to him and pulled him back. "Don't go. It's Xiaokai's fault. I'll teach him a lesson. Don't go. Give me some face." Chen Guang tried to struggle a little, but her grip was too tight. He couldn't break free. He tried to use force, but he was afraid that he'd hurt her. All right. The old man was a magnanimous adult and wouldn't argue with a child. Chen Guang had forgotten that Tang Xiaokai was actually older than him by 3 to 4 years. "Xiaokai. I'm warning you for the last time. If you continue to have this attitude, then don't come here anymore. Go back to mom and dad. I've already told you that Chen Guang and I are good friends, not boyfriend and girlfriend. You're making it difficult for me to deal with you like this. Believe it or not, I'll say it here." Tang Ying pulled Chen Guang to stand in front of Tang Xiaokai. Tang Xiaokai was about to enter the password on the POS machine when he heard Tang Ying's words. He seemed to be really angry, so he hurriedly raised his head and smiled apologetically at her. "Sis, I was wrong. I was really wrong." "Really?" Tang Ying nodded heavily. "Really?" Tang Xiaokai's expression immediately changed. He turned to look at Chen Guang and bowed to him. "Bro Chen Guang, it's my fault. I really thought you were my brother-in-law. I've never seen my sister in a relationship before, so I was worried that you might not really like her. That's why my reaction was a little overboard. I was actually trying to test my future brother-in-law on purpose to help my sister check on him. I just thought that even if we had a conflict because of this, if my sister really liked you, then we would become a family sooner or later. My attitude just now wasn't really directed at you, but at my future family. I'm deeply sorry for the trouble I caused you. Tang Xiaokai bowed again after he finished speaking. Please understand the complicated and selfish feelings of a little brother who has been following behind his sister's ass since he was young. On the other hand, Chen Guang was stunned by Su Tao's words. His apology was sincere, and his reason was very convincing. It was indeed hard to get angry at him. Forget it, I'll just give him a way out since Tang Ying has been running errands for my parents these past few days. Well, alright, I accept your apology. But, I'm still Sister Tang Ying's friend. You really pissed me off just now, so if you really want me to forgive you, help me top up my phone bill too. I'm a postpaid user, so just top up my phone bill for the first 2 months will be enough. I'm a very stingy person, you know. Chen Guang felt that this was a good way for him to step down. For a wealthy person like him, a few hundred yuan wasn't worth mentioning. He wasn't coveting that bit of money, but he just wanted to use this matter to make Chen Guang owe him a favor. Taking the initiative to owe someone a favor was actually the best way to get closer to each other. What was the underworld? The underworld was about the ways of the world. Tang Ying and Tang Xiaokai laughed too, especially Tang Xiaokai. He felt that this bro was actually quite a good person. Putting aside the fact that he was rich, he was a really interesting person. Just a small joke like this had brought everyone a lot closer in an instant. Tang Xiaokai waved his hand casually. No problem. Sis, help me check brother Chen Guang's number. I'll swipe my card again and pay for him. I didn't even know that you're a high-class postpaid customer. Sorry for not recognizing you, hee hee hee. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.